Hey, folks, just a few things. We have catering coming. Buttered Up Bakery is going to be dropping off sandwiches here anytime. We're waiting for them. For those of you who maybe are new to the Humanist Society, the bathrooms are in that back corner. There's also trash and recycling over in that back corner as well. There's more trash over there if you need it. Private bathroom down the hall if you need that. And yeah, we'll get started probably in hopefully about 15 minutes or so. We're just waiting for the caterers to get here.
Now I can give you a big hug. How are you?
Good.
Thank you for having me. Hi.
Did you see I switched our chat over to Signal?
Yes, thank you. Sorry. Look what I found when I was canvassing today. It's just a ginormous.
Oh my God.
I realized it's still in my pocket. But I saw it in the real world and I was like, Dad, no.
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 That's going to happen to somebody. Yeah.
Okay, and Michael said he's going to keep an eye on the coffee.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah, I was like,
Yep, I was there at that event.
how did it go last night?
Oh, I got so Julie thinks stickers funny, but it's like a stress thing, but it's like the texture. Like what I'm gonna do with it is I'm just gonna like go and shake hands with people, but I'm gonna have the butter and people are gonna grab it. And then she gave me these.
Oh my God. That is amazing.
Did you shake her hand with the
I
butter?
don't have the butter with me.
What happened to the butter?
The butter's back at your place. I had to
Oh.
wash the butter because it was getting like lint in my pocket, and then I forgot it.
I need one of those for my brother. One of those ornaments.
Oh yeah.
He would love. That's like our joke.
And then we got, I think Julie specifically got Trisha Sauer like 3 times last night for these nuts jokes. Like somehow she worked room 40 in the conversation. Room 40 is room for these nuts.
Oh my God. I was like, I haven't heard that one before.
And then like, do you like Imagine Dragons? Imagine Dragons is these nuts in order. There was another one. No, Julie's got one.
How are you?
Good. And also, Ginger and I are like basically, my plan this year is, and I'm already doing it. I'm working with them. I'm like, if you get around to it, maybe that's great. But I'm basically so however I can help your campaign, because I would like if you get flush, great. But otherwise, I would rather do it.
Hey, folks, I just want to let you all know if you weren't here the last time, we are waiting for the caterers. There's also a flag football event that's complicating our parking right now that we did not know about. And so the sandwiches will be here very shortly. In the meantime, there are drinks over there, snacks over there, trash in the back, restrooms over there, private restrooms this way. So go ahead and find a place to sit for now. And as soon as the catering comes, we hopefully will get started with the program. Okay. I think this might be the center. Now I feel like I would not be that person. You know, I know that I would sit like if I go somewhere for a concert, I'm always like aisle seat by the back so I can see me too, you know. We're gonna be starting I just you know what? It feels like I'm you know, and right. It's the doing that, the day of part. Yeah. Yeah. I have been doing dry January, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have class. All right, folks, you may have noticed that our friend Steven from Buttered Up Bakery is unloading sandwiches. So once he gets them all set up, we have options. Please be careful not to take, if you did not sign up for a vegan or vegetarian option, please make sure that you do not take one of those. But like I said, there are snacks in the back, restrooms off to the side, trash is also in the back, drinks are over here. So once Steven is all finished, feel free to... We'll start with this table right here. Give it like 2 more minutes, though.
How does that work once we get started, basically?
Um,
Do
I
we have
mean,
another break where people table some more? Or?
well, there's kind of like, there should be 5 minutes in between each. So if
Okay,
they
yeah.
want to meander, like, I'm basically going to tell them too, you know, feel free at any time to take
Yeah.
a look at the tables that are
Yeah.
outside. We did this on purpose so that you can plug in and blah, 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 blah.
Cool. Very good.
Okay. And
And the catering's here.
yeah, and people are getting their sandwiches. If you haven't already gotten a sandwich and something to eat, go ahead and grab something, settle in, find a comfortable spot, prepare to be activated, and prepare to be around lots of really cool, like-minded people and some amazing leaders here locally in Arizona. How's it going, Michelle? We're just talking about leftovers, if there are leftovers. If you want to give everybody a 5-minute warning. We're already running behind. No, I think we're actually good. How's it going? That's how I feel every single fucking day, man. Every single day.
Like, somebody could just look at me and I'm like, oh, come on.
Our bodies and brains and souls and everything are not designed to live in this kind of fast-paced age of. It is, yeah. Well, when I was a teacher, you know, we would have several trainings about compassion fatigue, you know, because it is a real thing. All right. Yes, grab something to eat, please.
Hi, good, and you? Analise, Ortiz. It's really nice to meet you. Thank you for having me.
I can't remember which district you're in.
24, which is West Phoenix, South London.
The reason I ask is because my wife and I just moved 2 days.
Oh, really? What are your crossroads?
40th and Sun.
Okay, cool.
East side, but
Yeah, that's awesome. Where were you before? Tempe? Okay, cool. How are you liking it so far?
well, it's a change. A lot of new challenges as far as
Yeah. Is it a like a Republican area that you're in?
that area is so close to the still. I know one of our members here had a couple offers about
Oh, cool. Okay.
not too far. It's usually pretty as far as I'm concerned, it's like now definitely
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is any of this going to be recorded or streamed? And we can put it up on the yeah. Okay. After crochet.
Buttered Up Bakery is the best. They're our go-to now. They're locally owned. Their price is right, and their food is best. Yeah. And they us for special diets and stuff like that too. So that's what we always end up with. And the convenience of the little boxes are nice too. I know. Yeah. We're running just a little bit behind, just so you know.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. I have some other paper questions.
Have you met Lisbeth? You probably already know this stuff. Espinosa. So she's the one outside discovery. Right to start time. And she's the one that makes us running. You're part of that, right?
I didn't see her.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah. She's running an award too.
Oh,
She's a presenter and an award.
okay.
Yeah.
And am I taking questions? Do you want me to take questions or it's yours?
If there's time.
Okay.
There's time. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, folks, please go ahead and find somewhere to settle in. Be ready to plug in. And I'll just make a few quick announcements here. I first want to just say thank you. I'll just get my thank yous out of the way first. I want to thank, first of all, the Humanist Society of Greater Phoenix, thank you. I don't know why I couldn't say it. For always being available to us and for being such a great partner and for providing so much community. You know, we got here this morning and there was a huge group of people here who are weaving plastic mats for our unhoused neighbors. So if you want to plug in, today is all about you plugging in. Humanist Society of Greater Phoenix has tons and tons of programming. So be sure to take a look at this table over here, check out their website, and find out if there's something that you might enjoy at the Humanist Society. I also want to give a big thank you to Buttered Up. We always get asked all the time, who catered this? And it's a locally owned bakery. Their food is fantastic. The price is right. So thank you to Buttered Up Bakery. Thanks to all the volunteers, too, at Humanist Society of Greater Phoenix. If Mars wasn't here, I'm not sure exactly what I would do. I'd also like to thank Secular AZ, the board of directors, and all of our volunteers. As a matter of fact, if you are on the board of directors with Secular AZ, please stand up, because I see a few of you. Yes. We've got Ian Hamp, our chair. Whit Johnson is our vice chair. Dianne Post is our legal director. We've got Michael Bryan right back there who just joined us. He's in Pima County, so we're activating in Pima County too. And then behind him is Karen McClellan. She is our badass school board member up in Sedona. So if you don't know them, you probably want to. I'd also like to thank all of our liaison groups. I can see we've got a representative from the Satanic Temple. Oliver is here. We've got Mars, who represents the Freedom from Religion Foundation. We've got Sheila Kruger here with Atheists Helping the Homeless. We've got David Stobering. Is it Stobering or Staubering? Staubering, sorry. And he also has a lot of great social groups with the Phoenix area meetup group. There's Audrey. Where's Audrey? Audrey's back there. Audrey just started a Northwest Humanist chapter. So if you live in the Northwest Valley, where Heather Rooks is the president of the school board, and you want to counteract that, I bet you could get plugged in with the Northwest Humanist group. Are there any other liaison groups that I've missed? Oh, Camp Quest. Ian is also on the board of directors for Camp Quest, which is a humanist summer camp for kids. And he got to go to a grown-up summer camp because of it. So we might be trying to recreate that. Who knows? We also have some really fantastic advocacy groups here. We've got Abortion Access for All. We have Normal and Julie Gunnigal, who is their legal representative. We have CEBV, Civic Engagement Beyond Voting. We have Save Our Schools. We have Organized Solidarity. We have Arizona List. We have who? Toolbank. Toolbank. So, and Local First Arizona, who is also going to be presenting today. So, if there's any lull in the programming and you want to wander around out there, feel free to do so, okay? Let's see. Make sure I'm getting everything right here. Okay, I think we're ready, folks. So welcome to the Secular Summit 2026. Thank you for joining us today. I got that razor blade virus. They are calling it like a razor. It feels like razor blades. So I sound terrible, but I'm not contagious. I can promise you that. Hopefully I will still have a voice by the end of the day. We'll find out though. So can you all believe that this is the first double-digit day in January? Right? I know, right? So let me get to my little slideshow here. There's the organizing. Oh, good. See, I knew I was going to miss some people here. So you can see all of the great groups. They all have sign-up sheets, so you can get out there, get your names signed up with them, and they will be able to plug you in to actions all over the state of Arizona. Because our goal today is for you to be able to commit to something that you are able to do on a weekly or a monthly basis. So this is going to be our schedule for today. We've got some fabulous speakers. You can take a look at that. If you want to know what's going on, you can take a picture of it, I guess. This is me. My background is in education, so I am passionate about education at all levels, and I'm so glad that all of you here are woke and want to get more woke with some education. Thank you. So, yeah, double digits. Today is only the 10th of January. So let that sink in for a second. On January 7th, 2026, a mother was murdered by an ICE agent in Minneapolis. And the way that it made me feel was really a light bulb moment. I know how many people have been killed in ICE custody and who have been fleeing from ICE custody and had acts of violence perpetrated upon them. But I didn't really do much. I was working a little bit behind the scenes. I was doing some data entry for some activist groups. And I've been thinking a lot about that. I attended a few protests. I've been engaging with our members across the state, but I didn't really commit to anything sustained. It wasn't until the murder of Renee Nicole Good that I signed up to become a legal observer, and I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed that it took the murder of a white woman for me to commit when I have seen countless of my black and brown neighbors being terrorized. Not just this year, but my entire life. You know, I immediately recognized that my reaction to the murder of Renee Good was stronger, and shame washed over me. I've always considered myself an empathetic person, but it took seeing someone like me with stuffed animals in her glove box to truly commit myself to this resistance. And as white people, we have the privilege to pick and choose what we pay attention to, what causes we get involved with. The color of my skin has made it easy for me to turn away from the uncomfortable truths of my country. And really, the reason for all of these DEI, CRT, book bans is because white people, many of them, don't want to be made to feel uncomfortable. Where some of us lean in when we're presented with new information, many others pull back. Many of you probably spent a good portion of 2025 and maybe before pulling back, doom scrolling, and raging at bots and trolls online. This is not activism. It's actually an unhealthy coping mechanism. And while you may have some mad skills when it comes to online debate, 2026 is the year to put down our phones and lean into difficult conversations with actual human beings. And for all of us white folks especially, it's time to get incredibly uncomfortable. Also, we need to be quiet and listen. But it's not okay for any of us to continue to expect our black and brown neighbors to do the heavy lifting. Today, you're going to learn a lot about the organizations and resources already in place here in Arizona from some of the best and brightest folks in our state. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to plug in. I want all of us to commit to plugging into at least one act of resistance every week to fight this fascist regime. The focus for today is mutual aid, and to get you all ready for the day, I want to introduce my good friend, my board chair, and my brother from another mother. Ian Hamp, for those of you who don't know, well, you're really missing out. So it's a great opportunity for you to get to know him. I got to know him back when I ran in 2020, and I watched Ian Hamp single-handedly take that old LD25 in East Mesa and build it up to the point where they had a thriving office with people hanging out there all the time. And he brings that kind of smoke to absolutely every single role he has ever had. So he's currently a self-employed field and volunteer manager for political campaigns in Arizona and Oregon. He has spent the last 20 years building a life of helping people who want to help others, and for the last year, he has served as our board chair at Secular AZ. Please welcome Ian Hamp.
Wow. Thank you. That's way better than what I wrote for her, which was like the last two sentences of that. Okay, so I didn't really know what you were going to say, and so I'm going to riff off of that. First of all, I hear what's behind, and I understand the truth behind the feeling of shame that Jeannie talked about in that moment. And we've been talking about it yesterday. Like we think about, we hear the word representation, and for many communities, representation means like I can see myself, I can see somebody who looks like me, who represents me, my community, in a positive light in wherever, in the media and wherever, in politics, and it's really important. And I kind of I understand that on one level, certainly cerebrally, but as a white male middle-aged person who has grown, like I was born in the right zip code, I have all the things going for me, right? It wasn't until 2020 when I saw a gentleman that looked like my grandfather get trampled on by the police during the George Floyd, the following protests from George Floyd's death, and I felt that shame, but then I also realized, I'm not saying don't feel your feelings, right? But do something with it, right? Like Jeannie was talking about doing something with it. Feel your feelings, and then know that now that you know better, do better, right? So that's the idea. I also want to read, and literally this just hit my inbox like an hour ago, but it's so good. And it's brief, which is the best part for this day. So I want to read a poem that, Renee Good was a poet, from what I understand, and we've been talking about getting back into thinking about and writing poetry as a means of just processing things. And so this poem is by Nikita Gill. It's "The rage you are feeling comes from the same place inside your heart as the love. This is why you refuse to accept a world where cruelty reigns and the fire consumes all. You have known hope and joy and kindness like you have known water. And justice is a river that demands you do not give up on it." So I hope that you all, like Jeannie was saying, walk out of here feeling inspired, feeling ready to take action. I will tell you that every time I start to slip into doom scrolling, and I do it every day, I immediately, like when I can pull myself up, it's usually pretty quick, and it's usually some form of the phrase, action is the antidote. It's there's no shortcut. Action is the antidote. So I hope you find your action today. And it is my pleasure to introduce Senator Analise Ortiz, who is here today. Analise Ortiz represents the people of Maryvale and Glendale in the Arizona State Senate. I seriously struggle to use the word represents about very many elected officials these days, but I have seen Senator Ortiz at enough doors and with enough of the people in her district, and I've seen her knuckles when she's done running a campaign. So I'm comfortable with saying, yeah, she really represents. And not only does she accurately described as a representative, but for my money, she's literally like the benchmark. And I don't benchmark is a term I'm using to get the point across, but also literally when I'm talking to people about what what you're looking for in a great candidate. Usually I'm thinking about primary candidates against Democrats these days. But she's the benchmark. And I'm so grateful to have been able to help with her past several campaigns since 2022. And just so you know, she's the ranking member of the Senate Judiciary and Elections Committee here in Arizona, previously served as state representative of LD24 from 2023 to 2025. She played a key role in doubling affordable housing investments and championing policies to lower costs for Arizona families. She is a real one. Please welcome Senator Analise Ortiz.
Thank you so much, Ian. Thank you, Jeannie. How's everyone doing today? I am so appreciative to be here and share space with you, and that all of you are spending time of your Saturday working to make our state better. So thank you. Let's give you all a round of applause for being here. Can everyone hear me okay? Does this work? Okay. As Ian said, I'm Senator Analise Ortiz. I have the tremendous honor and privilege of serving the people of West Phoenix and South Glendale in Arizona's 24th Legislative District. And I am also one of the few agnostic members of the Arizona State Legislature. Thank you. Now, of course, I wasn't always agnostic. I was born and raised here in Arizona, and I grew up in a big family of 6 kids in a very religious household. And I think one of the first times I really started to question some of the things I was learning in religious education was I was maybe in about 6th or 7th grade, and someone in the back of the class asked a question of the youth group counselor and said, if Jesus was from the Middle East, why are all of the photos we see of him with white skin and blue eyes? Now, keep in mind, this was before the movie Mean Girls, so that kid had thought of that question all on his own. And the youth group teacher responded, well, Jesus was made in the perfect image of man. So me, one of the few brown kids in the class, immediately said, what do you mean by that? And that question of what do you mean by that was labeled by the adults around me as defiance. And I got a call home that day. So as I grew up and I started to experience different cultures, started to meet new people, went to college, learned a lot about myself and about others that I loved who were members of the LGBTQ plus community. I too am a pansexual woman. I realized that there was a lot of things about the way I had been raised that didn't jive with who I really was as a person. And religion can be a beautiful thing, but it is a deeply personal thing that should be between a person and their chosen religion or non-religion and maybe their community and their family, but surely not the state. And that is why I am so sensitive when it comes to issues at the state legislature of the line between church and state being blurred, or in many cases, being trampled over entirely. When we see bills like the one that would have required the 10 Commandments to be in every single public school classroom, when we see bills that further restrict access to essential health care, like abortion, when we see bills that would punish teachers for simply showing their queer students the same love and respect that every child deserves. Now, thankfully, over the past few years, we've had a governor who has vetoed some of the most egregious pieces of legislation. However, it is important to remember that Christian nationalists really run the state Senate and the state House, and they have for decades. And that is why it is so critically important that we have organizations like Secular Arizona and all of the other great partners who are here today who are consistently down at the state capitol advocating for the separation of church and state and for all people to be treated equally regardless of their religion or non-religion. But the one place in the state legislature where we see the majority party not want to follow the Bible, of course, is issues of immigration, right? All that stuff in the Bible about loving your neighbor as you love yourself. I was naked and you clothed me. I was hungry and you fed me. We don't reference that part of the Bible when we're down at the state capitol. In fact, last year, I reposted on my Instagram story some public information that ICE had been seeing outside of an elementary school. And that one post caused the Senate President, Warren Peterson, to call for the feds to investigate me for obstruction of justice. It caused Senator Jake Hoffman to file an ethics complaint against me, where he claimed in this ethics complaint, or he pointed out, that I had donated a measly $50, it's not much, but it was all I could afford, for a family whose father had been taken by ICE, leaving the elementary school-aged child without a sole provider to put food on the table. And my donation to Senator Hoffman was seen as a crime rather than an act of moral goodness. The hypocrisy reigns supreme at the state legislature because around that same time, a Republican, John Gillette, had called people of the Muslim faith savages, terrorists, said they were from, quote, shithole countries. He called for a member of Congress to be executed, and when the Arizona Republic asked him to clarify, he doubled down and said, yes, she should be executed. Democrats filed an ethics complaint against Representative Gillette for those horrible words, and it was promptly dismissed by Speaker of the House, Steve Montenegro. When my colleague and dear friend, Representative Stephanie Stahl-Hamilton, who is a pastor, tried to make a point about separation of church and state by hiding Bibles that are in the members' lounge because she felt as though one particular religion should not be favored in the people's house, she was promptly hit with a censure. And so it's so critical that now, as much as ever, we are standing united to show the Christian nationalist movement that this is not popular policy, it is dangerous for our democracy, and it is harming people every single day. I know that this is a hard time. Many of us feel burned out. We might feel hopeless. We might want to stay in bed doom scrolling. But that is where we need to reach deep into ourselves to find that motivation to keep going and to bring more people into rooms like this. Because rest is important. We can't keep doing this work if we are burned out. So we will need to have those people to call on, to tap on the shoulder, to say, I need to take a minute on the sidelines and I need you to go in for me. We have to constantly be growing this movement and welcoming new people in if we're going to get out of this moment that we are in. And all hope is not lost. They want us to think it is. They want us to think the game is over. They want us to give up. They are counting on it. And that is where we need to stand united and say, hell no. Not now, not ever. We start the legislative session on Monday. I wasn't expecting applause, but We need you all to show up, to be there, to be speaking out against this legislation. So please continue to be involved with Secular AZ and the other organizations. Sign up for a volunteer shift. Come down and provide testimony at the state capitol. Call your representatives and senators at the state level and tell them you are not okay with watching what is happening in the United States of America. I'm Senator Analise Ortiz. You can learn more about me at ortizforaz.com. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the support. And let's go out and continue to bring goodness to the world. Thank you.
Can you hear me? I think we have time for maybe one or two questions. So is there anybody that has a question for Senator Ortiz? I'm Phil Donahue. That's how you know I'm Gen X. Here you go.
Thank you. I've been hearing a lot about, Turning Point played a huge role in this Spilsbury race in Mesa, and now I understand they're targeting the SRP board. Have you heard anything else further about Turning Point jumping into the fray?
Well, we need to be vigilant about Turning Point's tentacles being in every single race. And it has been for quite a long time. And unfortunately, we are not as organized as we need to be to fight back. That is just the honest truth. So where are they playing? They are playing in the SRP board. So if you are a property owner in an area where SRP is your service provider, you have a vote on those elections, which are happening in March. So it's really important that you're tuned into those. You can only vote if you're a property owner, which is a little ridiculous. But that is, the utility board where all of these key decisions are made. I have heard that they are continuing to target city council races. So this is where it's so important that you are talking to your friends, family, and neighbors, especially for those nonpartisan elections where they might not be very clear where certain candidates stand or who is funding them. So make sure you have that information to provide the people who you care about so they are making an informed vote. School board races are another area where they should be nonpartisan, but we see these far right candidates. So in the Phoenix Union High School District, there was a Turning Point candidate who was appointed to a vacancy named Jeremiah Cota. That seat is a historically pro-public education seat, which has now been taken by Turning Point. So that there will be a big race there. I think the other candidate's name is Isaac Young. So do some research if you live in Phoenix U. If you live in Mesa Public Schools, there's big school board races here. I would suggest getting involved with all of the community partners who are really tracking those key local races. But yes, we need to be on guard for all of it.
Oh boy. Well, I saw you first, so I'm going to go ahead and give it to you, Michael.
Thanks for being here, Analise. There's a couple hundred bills that are already in the hopper. Is there anything that's come across your desk that you're aware of that is truly alarming to you thus far?
There are quite a few bills that already are very alarming. I would say, number one, the very first bill that was filed is a ballot referral to eliminate vote by mail, it will eliminate the automatic vote by mail list. So it will require every single election for voters to reconfirm their address, which we know is just going to cause huge confusion for the vast majority of voters who rely on vote by mail. So those attacks on our democracy, because it is a ballot referral, it will be surpassing the governor's veto pen. So I think we can fully expect that to be on the ballot in 2026, which means, again, we all need to be talking to our friends, family, and neighbors to vote no on that referral. There is another referral that will target trans youth, and the language, it's introduced by Senator John Kavanaugh. Again, this cannot be vetoed the way it has in the past. They're trying to send it straight to the voters so that children will have to be outed by their schools to families that might not be supportive of them. They've changed the language to make it seem more mild, more moderate, but it is still a huge danger for our queer students who deserve safety and deserve to be loved. There is another bill that tries to target the Center for American Islamic Relations, CARE. It tries to designate them as a terrorist organization, which they absolutely are not. They are a free speech and civil rights organization. And what's important about that one is that the Republicans, the Christian nationalists, are really trying to test the waters. If they can designate this civil rights nonprofit as a domestic terror organization, that's going to open the door for them to come after all kinds of nonprofit organizations, including the ACLU, Secular Arizona, all of these other organizations that work to protect civil rights. So it is a very nefarious bill, and we need to be on guard for that.
I think we have time for one more question. All right, here, hold on. Let me run over to you. Here you go.
Thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
This is not a question, it's just a point of information on the SRP election. You must register separately or you will not get a ballot. You will not be on the ballot unless you register through the SRP elections website. So please do so if you're a property owner. You have a portion of a vote, but it's only 5% of the people in Arizona, in SRP's range, vote on that commission for this reason.
Thank you so much.
And Vic Aronow, who's also a frequent guest on our Friday webinars, if you're not aware of those, you should definitely show up. He has some cards here with a QR code as well. So if you want to scan that code, you can go to this gentleman back here sitting next to Dianne Post, and he can help fill you in. So thank you so much. I mean, honestly, what Ian said about representation and Senator Ortiz is spot on. I feel like we have a lot of legislators who will rubber stamp things or they don't want to get caught in the fray of things, but Analise always leans in. And she fights for everybody in Arizona, not just the people in her district. So please, let's give her another round of applause, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, just making sure. Well, hold on just a second. Okay. So today, our next guest, I feel so privileged. I actually got to meet her in person for the first time today. Oops, what did I just do? Did I do that or did? Oh my gosh. Okay, no worries, this is fine. So, like I said, our next guest is somebody that I just met in person for the first time today. But she's someone that I communicate with daily. Last summer, as many of us were wringing our hands and doom scrolling, a friend of mine told me about this group of individuals on a Signal chat who are working tirelessly to push back against ICE and this fascist regime. And whether it's an update about where ICE is currently terrorizing communities, conditions in detainment facilities, advocacy events or training, or families who need help with the basics, Lisbeth is there. She has been an organizer for over 25 years and has worked in the area of immigration for over 30. She spent time at the border during Trump's first term in office reuniting families at the border. When Trump's second term began, she began empowering community members who were not directly impacted by the administration's draconian immigration policies to become active in the fight to save lives. Organized Solidarity Collective was born out of these efforts. And they have a table outside, so I highly recommend signing up with that group. They distribute red and green cards. They educate businesses about public and private spaces. They collect and disseminate data on the impact of ICE and DHS. They directly support immigrant families who have lost members to deportation and detainment. They provide information to these families to help them navigate their next steps, and they provide a voice for those who are not being heard to our elected officials and not allowing these officials to ignore. So please help me welcome Lisbeth Espinosa. Thank you. Let me give you another hug.
So I used to be a teacher in my 20s, and I'm used to walking around.
Here, you know what? You can leave that one here and take the
Oh,
one.
great, because I'm used to, yeah. Okay. My name is Lisbeth. If we can close the door, because I'm a target. I'm a target, and they're right here down the street. So, welcome to my life. So I also have a job, and my job is a 70-hour job. I'm a union organizer, SEIU UHW. And I do this on the side. I've always done this on the side, immigration. So I am in that door over there, and I'm not shy. There's a lot of things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. There's a lot of stuff that I wanted to tell you guys. At the same time, I was like, what's important? What do you all need to help us in? So in the state of Arizona, we are right now at 10,214 people have been detained. 10,214 people have been detained. Okay? Eloy Detention Center is full. Florence Detention Center is full, meaning people who are not criminals are in the detention center. And the way this works, and I'm very public about this, my ex used to be in state prison, okay? He had more privileges than a person who looks like my father, who's right now at Eloy. So in state prison, you're able to call your family, you're able to get money, you're able to walk to the law library. If you're able to get help, there's paralegals that come in. There's a lot of support. In the detention center, people who are like my father, who does not know how to write Spanish, and he's Mexican. Many immigrants who have come to the United States of America are poor immigrants who did not have the basic necessity in their hometown. They're here because a lot of them have to do with political asylum. And in the era of my father, and I'm very public about this, there's only been one homie, one president who just gave amnesty overnight, which was Reagan. And well, that's my father. My father got amnesty overnight, no fingerprints, and he was a pollero. A pollero is, I don't know if whoever wants, yeah, my friend's helping me. But they have negative connotations now. Back in the day, it was a negative. Back in the day when the grant, it was about helping thy neighbor. Okay, I want to show a video. I've been up since 4 a.m. today, and I did want to mention how I do have a 70-hour job. Sorted by name. It's sorted by most recent. If you care, you can do this. A year ago, there's a woman here named Leslie who told me, what are you doing? Because she would see me going up and down, up and down. She's like, come, talk to us white people. There you are. Yeah? Yeah, oh, yes, okay, muy bien. Okay, there's a couple things that I want to talk to you guys about and I want to show you. This is today in the morning. This is today in the morning. Okay.
Downloading now.
Yes, I want this to just be plain, por favor. This is today in Mesa. I want you guys to focus. If you guys need to come up, there's 3 officers, there's 3 fucking federal agents on top of a human being, like this, with his knee down. Has that ever happened to you? Do you know what that feels? Do you know what that feels? You can't breathe. You can't fucking breathe. I didn't create, so immigrants community since the beginning of time have always been working together. And there's many immigrant communities because they know who I am and they know that I've always done this as a little girl. So I used to be a student of Angela Davis. I'm from that's my educational background. And Angela Davis would always say, it does not matter what you do, Lisbeth, if you don't do action with it. She's on my phone. She was like, what are you going to tell white people today? Professor Angela Davis. I'm 47 years old. I've been working with immigrants since I was 17 years old. This, what we are seeing now, deportation, oh, play it again, por favor. Play it again, please. The video, play that again, por favor. Deportation has always happened. It happened under Biden, 3 million. It happened under Obama, 4 million. It's always happened. The thing right now, though, it's happening right in your neighborhood. This was Mesa.
Okay, here we go.
Right in your neighborhood.
Video again. Just gonna go to my downloads.
Yes, if you can just play it again. I need everybody to feel uncomfortable. I need you to just experience 5 minutes of my life. I need your privilege. So, things like this is happening in your neighborhood. And even if you don't personally see it, but you saw the video and it's in Mesa, believe me, our elected officials, Greg Statton, when I call his office and he tells me nobody has called Lisbeth. I need white people to call. I need non-immigrant people to call, because us immigrants are targeted because everything's recorded. I need you guys to I need you guys to make noise. You don't have to know me to say, and do not lie. Just say, I don't like what's happening in my neighborhood. I don't like that I cannot walk around with my children. I don't want this. Just say the truth. But I need a lot of that. A lot. Because it's not a priority for them unless they're constituents. It matters to you. And what I tell elected officials all the time, I'm a daughter of immigrants. So when I hit 18, I voted according to how you treated my fucking parents. So you treated them like shit, guess what? And there's a lot of kids right now who are turning 18 who have experience. Right now, they're the man in the house. They're going to vote according to how we have treated them. Oh, and they're voting. They're voting. But I'm giving you guys heads up. If within this year, if a young person is just hating on you and they're immigrant looking, it might be because their parents were treated like shit. Okay? And we vote according to how you treated our parents. So whenever an elected official says, oh, well, because that was told to us a lot. You know, you guys are not voters. Excuse me? I know lots of people like me who vote. And many of us are small business people. This happened down the street. This happened right here. Right here. Every day it's happening. Every day. I wanted to read you guys this. These are my two. I'm not being recorded, right? So, Juventino Marin, small business owner, homeowner. He lives on PPP Balsam Avenue, Mesa, Arizona. Juve Marine Landscaping and Maintenance LLC is a business entity based in Mesa, Arizona. Established on May 21, 2019, this limited liability company is recognized under the document number 1989087. I have to say all that shit for an elected official to listen to me. Governed by the Arizona Corporation Commission, the company is listed in active status in state records. Overseeing the operations is Juventino. He's in compliance of this limited liability company who has been paying taxes for 27 employees. He has 27 employees. He is based at the same address as the company. Mr. Marin's daughter, Citlali Marin, is a graduate of ASU, and she's an elementary school teacher in South Phoenix. He was stopped on November 10th by Pinal County Sheriff. And I have a picture of his truck, but we can't, let's see if we can still show it. He was falsely accused of not displaying a current registration tag on his license plate. When Mr. Marin, who's old, he's like 60, almost like 70, like 69, 70. Okay? I'm 47 también, ahí voy. Like, Well, I'm in the, that's how we get along. I'm in that area too. No te preocupes. So when Mr. Marin started to talk, the sheriff officer told him that he was resisting arrest. So he remained silent. And he provided his driver license, registration, and insurance. Within minutes, an ICE officer arrived. The ICE officers ask you, are you a United States citizen, yes or no? That is the question. So if you say no, and he doesn't want to know anything else. So it doesn't matter if you're a permanent resident. It does not matter. And many people have green cards because in your native country, you cannot own property if you're not still a national citizen of your country. That's why many people have permanent residence. Because you would have to give up your national criteria in order to own property in the Philippines, in Colombia, in Mexico. So the question is, are you a United States citizen, yes or no? The person says no right away, and it doesn't matter if he's a political asylum, visa holder. There's 727 visa names, titles. It does not matter if he's green card. Everything has been, 47 has the power of creating executive orders. He does not have the power to create the law, but he has the power to create executive orders, and he oversees the federal agencies. So I have all his executive orders. I can forward it to you guys. And so he went back saying that anybody who is stopped, like a criminal activity. So this is considered a criminal activity because the sheriff stopped him. Even though everything was in order. Mr. Marin this is November 10th. Mr. Marin without cause, Mr. Marin and his passenger were taken to the ICE office in Central Avenue, which people right now are there. There's about 80 people every night. Can somebody tell the fire department? I can't do it all. This is when I need all of you to be involved. There's 80 people corralled, no water, no food, no beds, downtown. The max has been 200. How do I know? Because I pick up people from there. When they come out with the ankle bracelet, I have no Facebook, but somehow people get my number. So people are talking. They're talking. I need the fire department to walk in there. Are they in coats? But I need you guys. This is where I say direct action. I need you all in my business, por favor. I need you all to be like, I need you all to be making those calls. There's data. There's enough data. And I'll introduce you who's my right hands, okay? So he was taken to the ICE field office, and you're taken there for 2 to 3 days. And then you're put on 2 buses. You either choose. Do you sign your volunteer departure notice? Then you're put on the bus that takes you straight to Nogales. And if you do not sign that, then you're put on the other bus that takes you, like my friend Mike says, to concentration camps that we are paying as taxpayers. And you're there, and you're locked in. It is called prolonged detention. People who were in Vietnam know about this. It's a tactical war method. They're using all the war methods. So what happens when you're there? And you need to have money. I can talk about everything, but I wanted to share this story about how Juventino is still at Eloy. What did he do wrong? And this is our neighbor. He lives down the street from here. On purpose, I was like, I know I have a family. I have many families. Mr. Marin, without cause, is being detained without due process and in violation of human rights. He has not been allowed access to his family or legal representation. So somebody from the collective said, Lisbeth, how can I help? Everybody tells me that, and I give you assignments. I need you to go to Stanton's office. So this woman named Joanne went to Greg Stanton's office, sat there. She's white. Guess what? She was seen. And they paid attention to her. They don't pay. They already know me as a broken leg. Like here she goes again, me. But they listened to Joanne from Scottsdale. I need that. I need your privilege. I need that. My community is bleeding, and there's people in Mesa, everywhere. We have Somalias. We have Ethiopia. We have so many people who are right now being detained at Eloy, and no one's speaking for them. Nobody. Families don't know how. So Joanne sat at Greg Stanton's office, and she had a meeting, and she was heard. And they were like, they had no idea. So even though you see it on TikTok, doesn't mean that your elected official knows about it. Even though you saw this video, like so what I do is they have me in all the immigrants have me in all their groups. So when I see something, I put it out to the collective, and each person I'm an organizer, so in each person in my mind, you represent 100 people. Every human being in this, you represent who? Your friends, your families, your neighbors. So I tell my collective, send it out, call it, because there's proof. Our beautiful Attorney General Chris Mays, who is my ally, doesn't want to see masks on. Right? Doesn't want to see masks on. So that's a proof video, plus we're seeing how the way the person got detained. I have many stories. So what happens is, random people call me, and I go straight to you and I help you, but then I connect you. So organized solidarity, we do many, many, many things. And I need you all, if you want to be direct, Lee and Bob, you can join us. All my families know you all as my friends. You're not a stranger. You're not a stranger. You're not going to be asking questions, though. You're not going to be, we hate being zoo animals. Stop it. Do not ask us questions unless we tell you the story. And the more you're dropping off groceries, the more they start sharing a little bit here and there. So we do groceries. Every family that calls me has been receiving at least twice a month groceries. What do you think I'm doing to 47? Think about the bigger picture. They just took this, why are they targeting men? The breadwinners. And who gets left? All of a sudden, that family became a single household. That woman all of a sudden has 3, 4 kids, 2, 3 kids, all of a 6 kids. All of a sudden, like for us, overnight. And this is not it's not like I'm not a market. So remember, there's a lot of organizing here. So when I say I work with the family, I work with her. Okay, ¿tienes trabajo? Do you have a job? Okay, let's get you a job. Okay. Is the rent paid? Okay. No, let me talk to your landlord. I need her to have a rent free. I'm involved. So my family is your family. And the whole point is, if that family can sustain and keep it together, she's saying a big fuck you to 47. That's the thing. And the children, do you have clothes? Okay. I know clothes. Like, it's not about handout bullshit. It's about her getting on her 2 feet and making it. Making it. So you see grandmas getting a job. They now have to sustain a family. And I'm not even going to go into the attorney fees. That's ridiculous. It's just literally the president is choking the immigrant like this, choking them. So it's not a handout. It's lifting that family up so they can sustain. Okay, you need to get moved. We need to move you. My families become your families. And I have about 300 families right now. And many families have already left. So the family's with me from the beginning till the end, till when they leave. I take them straight to the airport. And I talk to the airline. So I am a coach, I'm a guider, you call me whatever, but it's that person making the decision. But I have friends Can you raise your hand? Who are friends who help me, who jump in. That is organized solidarity. Organized solidarity is the concept of the village. I grew up in a village. In a village, you have a teacher, you have a carpenter, you have someone who's selling eggs, you have someone who's selling milk. Todo eso, everybody. Well, when you hear it takes a village, in my mind, that's what it means. It means everybody's strength can jump in and help. So everybody is participating and making sure that family is successful. Because the man's not going to come home. And it takes time to process that. It's a lot of trauma response. I have an American Red Cross Katrina trauma response background. So it's a lot of like, whatever that person says is truth. It's truth. It's truth. And it's walking them, guiding them, moving them, little by little. But when Mike goes to the door, ahí va mi amigo Mike, el señor Mike es mi mejor amigo, te va a llevar la comida. Okay, Lisbeth, okay. Hola, like, so my friends are your friends. And then, guess what I'm doing with them? They're saying that there is good white people. They're going through trauma response. If you've been raped, you know what that means. I've been a victim of a crime. So if you've been a victim of a violent crime, you know what that means. So when that happens, and the wife is screaming, and people are calling me, of course I went there. The wife is in shock. So you're building, for them, when they start seeing people who look like you, oh my God, they care about me, yes. And little by little, like, okay, like, cause I'm like, I coach them, I guide them. I don't tell them what to do. But I have many families. And with that, that's part of the collective. With that, we also have lots of people who are retired, and you guys excel in your skills. So we have professors who are retired, who are breaking down the data from ICE, and are able to meet with all these elected officials and are able to meet with the news. I'm the one that started, the reason why you guys are seeing more stuff in the news, it's me. I'm the fucking whistleblower. I'm the whistleblower. And then I hand it, if you want to go do it, do it. The collective's about that. It's not about, no, everybody takes part. It's all about how do we teach others what we're seeing. Because it's our neighbors. Juventino. Like Juventino, there's many. Small business owners, there's so many. Where's my phone? There's another one that I want to just. I have it right here. So I'm going to play this audio. Remember, I'm trying for you guys to experience at least 5 minutes of my life.
Deportaron, ocupo que me ayude, que ahí a toda su comunidad me ayude para llegar a mi rancho, no tengo recursos, estoy aquí en Nogales, no traigo nada de carga, Liz, ocupo tu ayuda, me deportaron. Oiga, ¿qué cree? Me deportaron, ocupo que me ayude, que ahí a toda su comunidad me ayude para llegar a mi rancho, no tengo recursos, estoy aquí en Nogales, no traigo nada de carga, Liz, ocupo tu ayuda, me deportaron.
Itzel and her family were political asylum, and they were approved under Biden's administration in 2022. Itzel and her children in Glendale. ICE stormed into her apartment this Saturday. This is all this is my daily stuff. I stormed into her apartment on Saturday, going into Sunday, broke the door, grabbed everybody, 4 kids, husband and her. They didn't allow her to get el biberón. How do you say biberón? With the baby, the water, the bottle for the babies. They didn't allow her to get Pampers. They literally, and it happens in 10 minutes. It happens so fast in 10 minutes. This is Saturday, okay? Remember, she was approved. I see the papers. I take pictures of them. Everything's approved under Biden administration in 2012. Everything, you're paying. So when you stand in line, you're paying so much money and taxes, and you have to do everything right. And you because you're doing it right. So you have to stand, you do everything. So this is Itzel. She left me the message Tuesday at 2 o'clock. She memorized my phone number. She's one of our families that we've been providing support since April. This is our daily stuff. She memorized my phone number. And Nogales with all her kids and her husband. They were all approved under Biden's administration. That's what's fucking crazy about all this. It's all approved. But under this administration, he's going after anybody who went through the process of Biden administration and Obama. It's not valid. So you go back to you are an illegal. Overnight, fast. She's in the Nogales with her kids. I get this message, you guys. I'm figuring out, okay, we're figuring, and this is, you go into problem solving mode. Like, okay, go figure out who can give you how, what, like, so there's like a Coppel over there's like a Walmart. So I learn from them. The thing is, this is our daily. I tell the collective, who's part of my signals, I'm very direct. I have no time to bullshit. So I have Itzel with kids, I need money. I'm gonna go and put her some money. I had to go and figure out, remember, I work. There's a lot for you all to do. And nothing's posted on Facebook, nothing's posted on nothing. Our neighbors are getting kidnapped. This is happening. I would love for you all to be with me after this administration is over and to stand in the Congress and to say your story about what you did and how you helped directly. How you directly helped the family. I wouldn't want you to be on the other side where you did not do anything. So I need you to join us. I need all of you. In whatever capacity you can. There's lots of things to do. The collective has grown so much. Because I have many families are calling me. That's been affected. Oh, so far in Mesa, I'm counting 37 people have been taken right now already. So I hope I made you feel uncomfortable, and I hope you can join us. Do something with your time. Por favor, okay?
And rather than bring Lisbeth up again later on, it's pretty obvious that this is why she is one of our stars this year. So Lisbeth, I want to give you your secular star.
So there you go. It's got your name on it. There you go. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. And again, if you want to sign up and help those families, they're right outside here. Get signed up and commit to helping the families in your zip code. Okay, I'm going to hand it on over. And by the way, folks, if you need to stretch your legs, use the restroom. We're not going to be taking really any breaks. So you can go while he's introducing people if you want to or whatever, but feel free to use your time as you see fit. And I'm going to hand it over to Ian to introduce our next guest. Thank you so much.
Here you go, bud. Okay. All right. And I'm going to kind of, like people are walking in and out, taking bio breaks. So I'll take a minute or two on this, but some things that I've been thinking about as I've been hearing our speakers today, and also a couple of things I forgot to say earlier. I heard earlier that rest is important. Rest is resistance. And I think some of the speakers that we've heard today, like the speakers we've heard today, like they need their freaking rest, but they do also need us, and that's how we give them the rest. Jeannie also mentioned, joy also, by the way, is radical acts of resistance. So I do strongly encourage you to find ways to bring joy into into your life, into everyday life. Obviously, the actions are really important that we're talking about today, but hopefully when you get into despair, you can't take an action right now. It's like 8 o'clock at night. I'm just doom scrolling. You know, just find something that you find enjoyable and lean into that instead. Jeannie also mentioned my prior work in old Legislative District 25, the old Mesa Legislative District, and I want to mention something about that and talk a little bit about the difference between mutual aid and charity. We just heard a lot about what's basically mutual aid, like it's solidarity. Like they're pretty much synonymous. I mean, not necessarily, but you're not gonna find solidarity as easily in charity work, because charity work tends to lean towards a hierarchy, right? I have resources. I'm going to bestow them on the people underneath me, right? Like that's a charity model. It's not every charity model, and there is certainly a strong need for organizations that are more of a typical charity. But if we're looking for solidarity, if we are looking for togetherness, if we are the only ones. There's one way out. I'm sure you've heard Jeannie say that before. There's one way out, and it's us. Us together is the only way we get out of the situation that we are in right now. So back when I was vice chair for LD 25, I got elected. I had a chair that I was reporting to. I had people that I was working with. I had a hierarchy. I was elected into a hierarchy. And then I spent 6 months trying to figure out, is it okay if I do this? Is it okay if I do that? And I finally just had to sit down with the chair, who had never said anything other than, you're great, keep doing what you're doing. But it was all in my head. I needed the hierarchy for some reason. Probably has to do with the color of my skin and corporate life for 15 years. But anyway, I digress. When I finally had that conversation, I'm just like, I just need to be able, like, you know me, you trust me. You know that I'm going to do what I think is right for the legislative district. Can I just run with stuff when I think we should run with it? Yes. And in fact, the board had a lunch together pretty soon after that, about 7 of us, and we said, we all just agreed over lunch, like, we're just going to trust each other to have have the right mission. Like the mission, like we all have the same mission to elect Democrats, to elect better humans into office in Legislative District 25. And once we removed that hierarchy, magic. I mean, the magic that she was talking about. First of all, you did say single-handedly. No. I was far from single-handedly when I became chair in that district. But we had several amazing people who we suddenly just freed. Just do what you can do to help. Do what you think is right to help, and then let's talk on a regular basis about it and see how it's going. And the reason that our district became what all the candidates that year said was like the magic. You got to go down to that district. They're on fire. It's just because let's just stop being hampered by whatever stupid rules we think we have. Let's just do what's right by people. That's solidarity. That's more of a mutual aid model. I didn't call it that. It's hard to even think about it at the time. But and so I'm here today up in front of you right now to talk to you about another interesting community model that I didn't think about as mutual aid until I don't remember when I texted you, Jana. I'm going to introduce Jana Ferraro here in just a second. Several months ago, I was thinking about mutual aid, and I was like, hey, wait a minute. The Phoenix Toolbank So Jana and I know each other, and this is my introduction, basically. So I hired Jana 14. Let me stop. No. Myself and a committee hired Jana May of 2014 to lead to the executive director of what in 2015 would become the Phoenix Community Toolbank, and now is just the Phoenix Toolbank. And you will hear all about the Toolbank in a second. But when I did that, I wasn't thinking mutual aid, but really, as you listen to this, think about what this is. Is this mutual aid or is this charity? Because, yeah, just think about that. And then just the other thing I would challenge you to do as you're listening to Jana and learning about Toolbank is I would challenge you to start thinking about what are the needs. We just heard a bunch. What are the needs in your community? What are you going to do to address them? And what are your obstacles? What are your barriers? What do you need before you can either address them or address them the way you would want to? Toolbank can't help you if you need money, but we can help you, or I say we. Toolbank can help you if you need pretty much anything other than volunteers or money. And we can save you the money. So without further ado, I hope that when you hear this, you walk out of here going, yeah, there's no obstacles anymore. The obstacle is me and my imagination and my willingness to go maybe rent a U-Haul and haul a bunch of stuff out to an alleyway for a cleanup or something. Switching notes. Switching notes to the correct notes. Okay, so Jana, as I mentioned, is the executive director of Phoenix Toolbank. It is a nonprofit tool lending program that, quote, serves other community-based organizations by providing tools, equipment, and expertise. Tools, equipment, and expertise, all of those, very important, to empower whatever their ambitious goals are to help the community. Let's see. Sorry, the phone kept locking. Since it has opened, she has. I'm not going to read this verbatim because it's off the website speak. But so any community initiatives to do more with less, support local nonprofits, schools, community initiatives in COVID. How many units of PPE equipment? Yeah, 4.5 million. Like they were a distribution hub. Jana is an active member of, serving as the chair of the Maricopa County Community Organizations Active in Disaster, previously served on the board of directors for Arizona's Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster. It's been just such a pleasure to work with her and alongside her for the last 12, 13 years. And it was the thrill of my life when I was about to get on a boat to go to Alaska in May of 2014 when I got the news that she had accepted the position. It made the whole trip like I can just relax now because we had hired the right person. So without further ado, Jana, please welcome Jana Smith. Jana Smith Ferraro? Jana, okay. How do you prefer to? What's your preferred? Is just Jana Ferraro now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It got really long, and so, And I can advance my slides here, right?
Please, yeah.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. As Ian, thank you for the lovely introduction. Ian and I have known each other a really long time, and so I feel like thank you for trusting in me. I still joke when people ask me how I got into this because I have no history in tools, and I joke that when Ian and the group interviewed me, they asked me all about my outreach skills and my grant writing ability and my leadership and all of that, and not one of them asked me if I knew how to string a string trimmer. Not one. Did I know what a miter saw was? The answer to both of those questions is no. But now I am the fastest string trimmer, restringer on staff. Thank you. And my first training that they flew me to Atlanta, I used the miter saw for the first time. And so now I am efficient with the miter saw. So as Ian mentioned, we are a nonprofit that loans tools and equipment to other nonprofit schools, neighborhood associations, community groups. I like to say anybody doing anything good in our community has access to our tools and equipment. What's very interesting is we started way more tool-based, and now we are a lot more equipment-based. So people hear tools, right, and they go to those things, right, string trimmers, miter saws. But now we have a wide variety of tools and equipment. So think big, because we're not just string trimmers. So as I like to say, the possibilities are endless with Toolbank tools. We have all kinds of, there's Trees Matter planting trees in our local community in that picture. Who can borrow? You don't have to be an incorporated 501c3 to borrow from us. It really is about empowering our community to do work, to get engaged, to be involved. If it and it's kind of a misnomer, our tools can go to individuals' homes too. So if your neighborhood association wants to register, individuals can still come, because if you're beautifying your home, if you're cleaning up your landscape, you're improving your overall neighborhood, right? So our tools can go to individual homes. Unfortunately, we are part of a national network of tool banks, and our affiliate agreement doesn't allow me to lend directly to individuals. You sign a waiver agreement, so it does have to be a group, an entity that has to register with us. But I do my best to figure out how we can get the tools in hands of people. I'm creative. There's usually a way. So as I said, we're a lot more than just tools. Obviously, we have power tools. Drills, saws, landscaping equipment, cement mixers. This is what's really great is we have a lot of unique tools that are a little bit more expensive. So if you volunteer someplace, your neighborhood association or your group wants to do something where it might need some more specialty tools, obviously, if a nonprofit has a facility, you might have some of your basic stuff, but it doesn't make any sense to go out and buy a cement mixer to repair some steps or some, concrete work outside to use one time and then not ever have to. What do you do with it after? Then you have to store it, right? So we're all about helping the community do more with less and save money. We carry all the safety equipment, ladders, all your basic hand tools. We get down to that last bulletin, that's where it gets real interesting. We have grown our special event equipment over the last couple years in leaps and bounds. I pulled 2025 numbers for our impact report the other day. We loaned 58,713 items in 1 year. Yeah. Ian, do you know how many we loaned the first year we were open? Just over 3,000. Yeah. So it was I did every year. I'll send it to you. It was very interesting for my board. Every year we were open, we kind of doubled. And then we took a huge leap when we started adding the special event equipment. So we did almost 59,000 items last year. So we're not a small organization. We also have a large quantity of items. So we've been slowly growing our chairs. So we now have 850 of the same matching chairs. So we can do so we have a neighborhood association picking up this next week. They do their neighborhood meetings every other month. She picks up 20 chairs, right? Great. Then nobody has to store them in their garage, all of that. But we also now can do much bigger events. So we're steadily growing based on demand, the number of items. But tables, chairs, sound systems, sign holders, even votive candle holders and vases. You want to have a celebration or something like that. So we're very easy to use. We do charge a small fee for the items per week. Compared to your for-profit companies, we're much cheaper. So we do all of our lending online. You can register your organization for free. It takes about 10 minutes, super easy. And then we do all of our actual orders through online as well. We have about 37,000 items in our inventory. I love when I get this all the time. It's either a phone call or an email. Hey, I got an event on March 10th, and I need 200 chairs and 20 tables. You got them? What do you think my answer is? I don't know. On any given week, we can do about 20 to 30 orders. That's processing in. That means we got 20 to 30 coming back from the following week. So I have no idea. The first year I used to know, I'd know what was where. Now I'm just like, I don't know. I think Local First is picking up in a couple weeks. You guys borrow from us now. Yeah. I know the names of the organizations. I don't know what we have available. So our system is like critical for how we manage our inventory and knowing where it's at. So organizations, super easy to use. You put an order in. As Ian mentioned in the beginning, that is actually our mission, the providing tools, equipment, expertise to empower your most ambitious goals. And so it is that expertise. You're not sure, you want to do a cleanup, what all do you need? Put an order in. We're happy to help you figure out what else you might be missing. We had an order just to pick up on Friday. They borrow from us. They have a small community farm, but they were doing some more cleanup stuff, and he ordered a carpentry saw with a chainsaw. No, I'm like, I don't think you're building furniture today. So I emailed him and I'm like, are you trimming leaves or are you trimming branches? Because we have folding pruning saws that are going to be much more efficient. He's like, yes. So we will help you figure out what you might need for your project as well. And then you schedule your pickup. You show up, all the items are ready, clean. We guarantee our tools to be clean and in working condition when they go out the door. You need a generator. We're going to start it either the day before or the day of. Make sure it's running. We send you batteries are charged. As I mentioned, string trimmers are strung because now we're so efficient at doing them. We have over 65 string trimmers. So when I talk about string trimmers, it was like we started with 5. They are the bane of my existence, that and pop-up tents, because we have close to 70 pop-up tents, 10 by 10 pop-up tents. Every time they come back, we pop them up because we don't want to send anything out that's broken. We give you good quality equipment that's ready to be used. Pop-up tents are awful. And they go out like 50 at a time, and 50 come back at a time, and we're all like out there popping them up. I love these pictures. Pretty much everything you see in both of these photos is inventory that came from the Toolbank. The bistro lights, the stanchions. So you can bring community together for fun or for creating community together. There's our stats for this past year. As I mentioned, we loaned over 58,000 items that we touched in and out of our warehouse. But more importantly, we had 215 new members this year. I think somebody at my table mentioned, like, do people know about you? People do, but not enough people know about us. So that's why I love when I'm invited to do presentations like this and can be introduced to a whole new group of people. Your neighborhood association, if you volunteer at a nonprofit, they may not even know that we exist. So please, my card is out at the table. Please share in the community that this amazing resource is available. Because it's our community resource. There is my contact information and our social media handles. I will be out at the table if you have any other questions. I'm happy to help you get registered. As I mentioned, super easy online. And thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jana. And I want to say it looks like we might have a question though. Do you have your hand up to ask a question? Here, go ahead. We have a little bit of time. So the question, if you couldn't hear it, train and trap and release, right? Yeah.
We do not. You're not the first person that's asked me that. Have you tried the Humane Society?
I just reached my HOA and he's still not gotten back to me. And we already had a pregnant cat and gave away the kittens, now she's pregnant again. So, I tried that one, but little itty, I need a real trap.
No, but you bring up a interesting point. There isn't much that the Toolbank won't carry. So if you find somebody that will donate traps to us,
Bam.
we would carry them. We have dental equipment.
Wow.
We have a t-shirt can.
Oh, and we have a t-shirt cannon. We have dental equipment, including a full, like, it's a mobile x-ray machine. We have 2 of them.
You also have like giant backyard games too, like Connect
Yes.
4 and Jenga and stuff like that. So if you're, yeah, all kinds of fun stuff too. It's not all business. Okay. Oh, one more question, Melissa in the back.
We sure do.
All right.
We're connected to School Connect, yes. Shay, do you know Shay at School Connect? Okay, Shay and I are working on, so they did some marketing for us before this last October Love Our Schools. And we're working on a credit for any of the businesses or churches that adopt a school to be able to get like at least a start of some free tools for the next Love Our Schools in, is it March maybe or something? But yeah. Thank you for mentioning PTO. The schools themselves can register. We do find that we have a harder time sometimes with the schools around payment and, you know, all of that. But PTOs, PTAs, also like band boosters, your athletic clubs, like all of those groups are eligible to borrow from us. We've done the Corona del Sol band boosters competition for like the last 8 years. They come pop-up tents, 5-gallon water jugs, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Jana. I appreciate you. I want to say too, like, as she was talking, because we, the first year that I was here and we had our first big event, the cost of renting tables and chairs is staggering. And when we went to Toolbank, I'm going to say it was like an 1/8 or a 1/10 of the cost. The savings are really incredible. And then the other thing is, you don't have to, like if you do need a cement mixer, what do most of us do? We'll go to Home Depot. Home Depot supports this regime, right? We don't, and they also use their parking lots with those flock cameras to target the people who are trying to just work and feed their families. So Toolbank also provides us with a non-corporate option to be able to get the work done that we need to get done. So I just want to say thank you again to Jana, and I'm going to hand it back over to Ian. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again, Jana. And I also want to say, I don't know if you saw, let's see. So the Toolbank is located in Phoenix at Broadway and 32nd? Okay, 36. Just south of Broadway. So it's fairly centrally located. It's pretty easy to get to off of the 10. And the other thing is that it's called the Phoenix Toolbank, but it serves statewide and beyondish. Yeah, like tools go out of our country on a as long as they come back, like we're good. Okay, so thank you so much once again, Jana, and I am going to introduce our next speaker. And now that I realize that all of that stuff is up there on the wall, and I'm sure you can all read that with because right, yeah, text is so big. Okay, right, yeah. What I'm going to say is that one of the reasons, there's many reasons that Kimber Lanning is one of my favorite humans, and one of them is that when I was working in corporate life at Wells Fargo, I reached out to Kimber because somebody told me about Local First Arizona, and I was like, hey, I got this idea for creating a simulated farmers market that would help teach entrepreneurs, teach kids how to be entrepreneurial through junior achievement. And so on my birthday in 2011, she agreed to meet up, and we had dinner, and we had never met each other until then. And she knew I was from Wells Fargo, and she was from Local First Arizona, but we still talked and had dinner. And so a couple of lessons from that. One, which I think we will hear a little bit from Kimber today, and also just in general, like solidarity, mutual aid versus charity. Lots of things that we're talking about today are like, how do I remember all this stuff? How do I, and like the guilt from earlier that the shame that we were talking about. Like, look, sometimes every once in a while, like twice or 3 times last year, I bought stuff on Amazon. Sorry. But also, I was fully aware that I was buying things on Amazon, and I felt really gross about it, and I just can't find it anywhere else. And anytime I have the chance, I'm going to buy those things, and I'm in the position where I can buy them life has been good to me. I don't worry so much about, can I find the cheapest price? So I'll pay a little more, because I'm not really paying. I know I'm not really paying a little more by going local and talking to the person who's actually who's gonna sell it to me, and then they're gonna get the profit, and they're gonna invest that profit. So anyway, if I go too much longer, I'm gonna steal her presentation. But yeah, so Kimber just met with me, and we here we are 15 years later, and Kimber is. I have to say one more thing. So besides the founder of Local First Arizona, and you're going to hear about that, and you're going to be, Local First is just a phenomenon. And by the way, it's a phenomenon that, like Arizona, you all don't understand how lucky you are to have Local First Arizona. Like in this form, in this level of just impact, there's nothing else like it that I've seen in any state. Maybe Kimber can enlighten me, but it's pretty impressive. So I forget what I was going to tell you also. So I'll remember. I'll remember. Oh, I do remember. I came home after that dinner the first time, and I told my wife Ginger, "Hey, I just had dinner with Kimber Lanning from Local First Arizona." She lost her damn mind. She went into the pajama drawer in our dresser, and she reached out and got this Stinkweeds T-shirt that she sleeps in. From when she used to hang out at Stinkweeds Records as a teenager, that was also started by Kimber Lanning. So that's how you got your thirst for local business, right? Yeah. All right, so Kimber Lanning, everybody.
Thank you. Will somebody pull up my slides for me? Thank you. So it's great to be with you all, and thank you all. Just by being here, I feel comfortable saying a lot of things that there's certain rooms that I can't say certain things in, right? When you're an organization that is pushing to disrupt economic systems, just the very fact that I'm still standing in the state of Arizona means that I have to be able to navigate and speak in a few different ways to a few different audiences. So I just want to say thank you, because I already feel very comfortable here. So Local First Arizona, how many of you are even familiar with us? I'm always amazed at how many people have not heard of us. Okay, so we've been here for 23 years. That's a little less than half the room, maybe. 23 years. We're a nonprofit organization that is working to build an equitable economy here in the state of Arizona. So we are exclusively in Arizona, but we do work in rural, tribal, urban and suburban communities across the state of Arizona. So what do I mean by an equitable economy? I'm actually going to talk to you about economics, and I promise you won't fall asleep, okay? I actually have people come up to me and ask if I can teach economics, but I'm really coming at it from the perspective of being record store lady. As my friend Ian just mentioned, I got my start. I've had a record store in Central Phoenix called Stinkweeds. I actually got my start in Mesa. I've had the store almost 40 years now. And being in the music industry gives you a front row seat to how corrupt industries can be. So I formed a coalition of independent record stores around the country to fight your Sonys and your Warner Brothers, who kept giving the sweetheart deals to the Walmarts and the Best Buys. And then suddenly I woke up one day and went, wait a minute, this isn't just my industry, this is everybody's industry. So I'm going to ask you a simple question to start getting you a little bit oriented to what we're going to talk about today. Everybody knows who Jeff Bezos is, right? Why is Jeff Bezos a billionaire? Oh, louder. Okay, why else? Exploits workers, takes a cut from everybody. Okay. So I'll just give you one big reason. Because we made him so. You're very close. because we made him so. We live in a consumer-driven economy. And we have taken our steering wheel and we've given it to somebody else. And we go home and turn on the nightly news and we think somebody else is responsible for the economy, that somebody else is going to fix the economy, right? The decisions we make every day impact our communities very, very directly. How many of you are familiar with Cesar Chavez? Everybody in the room, right? What was that? That was collective economic impact. Collective economic impact. That is what's critically important that I want you to think about. So we're going to dig into this. So what do we do at Local First? I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the pillars of work, our strategic goals, and I'm going to talk about the economics of resistance. And it's so important that you recognize there are things that we can do every day to express our resistance. And there's also things that we're doing every day that are complicit. And we're not being accountable for that, and we all need to be accountable for that. So I'm not going to go into the day-to-day grind of what we do at Local First Arizona. Suffice to say, we support and launch locally owned businesses. We've run a Spanish language business accelerator program for 15 years. We help people get into mainstream baking. I'll tell you, our Spanish language community, those businesses, when they start our program, they're paying an average of 48% interest on every dime they've borrowed. They're being victimized by predatory lenders again and again and again. Why do we have predatory lenders? Yes, but because we have our money sitting in Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Chase, who are funding predatory lenders. Why would they lend to a Spanish preferred entrepreneur at 7 or 8% when they can get stuck at the predatory lender and make 17 times the money by lending to them over there?
I was not in the banking side of Wells Fargo.
He's heard this all before. So, all right, let's click forward, Ian. Thank you. So what are our pillars? Invest in entrepreneurship, number one. We need as many small businesses pushing back on this as we possibly can, and I'll explain more about why. Increasing access to capital and financial power. Any one of these topics, I could give you a big, long presentation on why, but I'll just give you a single bullet point. In the state of Arizona, do you know how many community banks we have? 11. The next lowest state is New Mexico, and they have 86. No, I'm just talking about community banks. Credit unions are playing a critical role stepping into the commercial space. Remember when credit unions were all about consumer lending? Now they're stepping into this space. But that's why we have so many predatory lenders. When Local First Arizona started, we collectively had deposited 91% of our total money into those three banks. 91%. In which they don't turn around and lend back in our communities and continue to victimize communities of color over and over. There was a sting done on Chase just a few years ago where they had 100 people call Chase and leave a message. They wanted to know about a mortgage. And you were 83% less likely to get a call back if you had an ethnic-sounding name. 83% less likely. So when your money is there, you're saying, I'm okay with that. Let's be real, okay? So we're going to talk about move your money. Retain wealth and grow wealth. Retain and grow wealth in rural and tribal communities. That's not so relevant, but I think it's in this room, but it is important that you know that we are working with tribal nations and rural communities to help transform them as well. Rebuilding the food system and increasing access to healthy food. We're going to talk a little bit about that today, but it's so important for us to get back in touch with where our food is coming from. What is happening now at the federal level in the gutting of small and mid-sized farms and the supercharging of the big, massive companies is dominating our food system. It's a national security issue. It's a national security issue, and we need to regain control of that. And then finally, we work hard to reduce environmental impacts of small businesses. So let's get into how does this economy work. So this is a funny slide that I put up to get you thinking about how the economy works. It actually came to me at 3 o'clock in the morning. In most rooms, about 50% of the people will quietly take their Starbucks cup and put it under the table Because they think I'm going to pick on them, right? I'm not. I'm actually here to tell you that Starbucks is the best chain out there. Anybody want to guess why I think that? What? No, there's lots of chains out there. Yeah, I mean chains in general. Chain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not just in coffee. No, they're battling. They're having all kinds of problems with that. Yeah. What? The international? Okay, any other guesses? I can't hear everybody. Benefits. Okay, so benefits is a piece of it. So I have two reasons why I think Starbucks is the best chain out there, and I really want you to give this some thought. Number one, they're not in the business of subsidies. So that means they don't come into Arizona and say, pay us to do business here. And you might think, well, who does that? Oh. Okay, Walmart mastered the subsidy, but I'm going to give you a current example. How about Cabela's? Everybody familiar with Cabela's out in Glendale? So Cabela's was averaging $35 million per store. Okay, $35 million to open up in a community. They have a team that comes in and they convince, they come and they pitch the economic development teams. When they came to Arizona, they pitted Peoria against Glendale against Phoenix, and they ratcheted up the number. Again, the average subsidy they were receiving was $35 million. Anybody want to guess what they got out of the city of Glendale, the big winner? $68 million subsidy. $68 million for one retail location. They claimed they were going to be the state's second largest tourist attraction after the Grand Canyon. Arizona Republic, front page. You can look it up historically. Cabela's to be the second largest tourist attraction in the state, right? So let's unpack that $68 million subsidy. Number one, they got free land. Number two, they got free infrastructure, sidewalks, street lights, everything that a developer normally pays for, they got that for free. That sucks, but this third one is the most important. They got a 10-year sales tax abatement. Okay, so when we pay our sales tax, that is a social contract. What does that money go toward? Parks, libraries, swimming pools, education, transportation. Sales tax goes into all of that locally. They got to, you walk in, you buy a tent, you pay your sales tax, they got to keep it. It went straight to their bottom line and went to shareholders as profit for 10 years. So we go home and we scratch our heads and we go, why is the library not open on the weekends anymore? Well, I'll tell you why, because their shareholders got it. Okay? Glendale damn near bankrupted themselves over doing a bunch of deals like this. Remember around the Super Bowl? Y'all remember when they were like scraping away from the claws of bankruptcy? Okay. So that's one reason I think Starbucks is pretty good. They don't do that. They just come and do business the old-fashioned way. Number two, they pay for the health care of their employees. Why do you care? So we don't have to pay. That's right. So Walmart was the largest employer in the state of Arizona for 20 straight years. 83% of their employees had no health care benefits. Who was paying for that? Yes. So those prices aren't so cheap, are they? Hell, in my little record store, who's a music lover in here? Who? All right, right here. I'm going to make you a deal. I'm going to give you 50% off in my store forever. All you have to do is pick up all the health care for my employees. Right? That's a bum deal. Oh, we do it every day. Oh, this stuff is so cheap. Wow, it's called deferred billing, folks. Deferred billing is what that is cost. Okay, so those are my two reasons why Starbucks is the best chain out there. But even with the best chain, let's talk about where your money goes when you spend it. You think it doesn't matter. It's a latte. Okay, you spend your money there. Left side of the screen represents 15 Starbucks locations. Right-hand side of the screen represents 15 independent coffee shops. You spend your money at a Starbucks. They have the cost of doing business. How many graphic designers do they hire here in Arizona? Zero. How about website developers? Payroll service providers, accountants, lawyers. You get my point. You spend your money on a latte right there, boom, it is gone. They have their staff here, and everything else is gone. On this side of the screen, you bought a latte. 15 coffee shops had a graphic designer that they hired. 15 website developers had a gig. 15 payroll service providers, right? Think of it like a hacky sack. I kick it to you, you kick it to him, he kick it to her, she kicks it back to me. We want to keep that dollar recirculating in the local economy as much as we can. And you may not be a graphic designer, you may not be a website developer, but that's not my point. My point is that all boats rise, that the more we can keep those dollars here locally, the better off and the more resilient we will be. Now we can talk about the third time the dollar moves through the economy when, let's say, the janitorial supply company keeps the offices clean of the accounting firm, and the accounting firm is only here because the local businesses hire them. So it is so important for us to understand the way we spend our money actually reverberates here locally and holds us up in a time of federal struggle. We've done this to ourselves over and over. When we spend our money in this model, we're actually eliminating jobs and opportunities in our local community. And we've done it over and over. Building supplies, we heard about that earlier. Pharmacy, we've heard about that. Over and over in different industries, we've done it. We've eliminated these independents, and we think, oh, boo-hoo, those little independents. I have colleagues around the country. I'm not telling you to go local because local needs you. I'm telling you to go local because you need local. That's how we're going to survive this mess, is keeping those dollars recirculating locally whenever we can. And is it 100% of the time? No, it's not. And we can talk more about that. But I'm going to give you an example. I was giving a talk one time to a large audience of graphic design firms. And there was a woman in the front row. She was nearly this close to me. And she smacked herself in the forehead really hard. And I heard it, and I was like, oh, my gosh, are you okay? She said, yeah, I'm just mad at myself. And I said, why? And she said, because I own a graphic design firm, and I used to have 8 employees, and today I have 5, and it looks like tomorrow I'm probably going to have 4. And it never occurred to me until right now that I've been spending all of my money with companies that will never hire me. That's how disconnected we've become. She said, I better get out of my community and actually meet some business owners that might need a graphic designer, right? Right? We've completely disconnected ourselves from how the economy actually works. Next slide. So we now know that for every 2 jobs a chain store creates, actually 3 local jobs are lost, period. Right? Part of that is just the economics of business. We shouldn't be using taxpayer money to pay for that. I see Vic back there, who was on Mill Avenue for many years. When we started this work, there was Changing Hands right there, and all about books, and a lot of Main Street businesses there. And City of Tempe, many of you are old enough to remember, started subsidizing chains to move into Mill Avenue. They actually pay. Can you imagine how offensive that is? They paid a Borders to move in across the street from Changing Hands. And their local economic development guy actually said out loud, finally, a bookstore on Mill Avenue. Right? To Lisbeth's point, they need to hear from us. That's outrageous. Next up. So let's talk about Amazon. This is the point at which when I'm on a college campus, people start throwing sticks and tomatoes at me because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. Over here on the left side of the screen, for every $10 million we collectively spend in the U.S. at independent retailers, we create and sustain 110 jobs. For the same $10 million at chain retailers, we create and sustain 50 jobs. Over here on the end, you spend it on Amazon, you get 14 jobs, and that job is diminishing as robotics is advancing. So we have choices to make. Do I think Amazon's going away tomorrow? No. But do I think there's a lot of people who are really angry at what's happening with the administration right now, who are not paying attention to how they're spending their money? I do. We got to get this under control. Next up. So one of the things I like to remind people is that it's not 100%. I'm not going to stand. There's always one person that raises their hand and goes, they don't knit socks locally fast enough. I'm not talking about socks. I'm not talking about the hardest thing. I'm talking about taking steps toward building a resilient economy. So we created a whole campaign called the 10% Shift. This was based on a study my colleague did in a community the size of Tucson. Get these numbers. If everyone there, consumers, businesses, and the small governments that are there, shifted 10% of their spending from a national chain to a locally owned business, it would create 16 100 brand new jobs and $130 million new dollars recirculating through that economy for a 10% shift, right? So this is thinking about being intentional about how you're spending, supporting Arizona companies when you can. They're not always more expensive. Sometimes they are, and sometimes it might not be feasible, and I understand that. But sometimes you'd be shocked. My record store is absolutely not more expensive than Best Buy, especially when you factor in the fact that we do new and used. You can buy and trade. There's lots of options out there, and I'm gonna end with giving you some options. But I want to see by a show of hands who can chip in and be intentional about 10% of their spending. 10% is an ask. I appreciate that. Next up. So I'm going to give you an example just to practice in your mind. You've got to go out. You got a leaky faucet. You need to replace that faucet. You have many, many options of how to do it, arguably more options than at any point in U.S. history, okay? The number one thing you can do is find a local hardware store, right? And there's not many of them left. You go to rural towns, you can find a little hardware store. Most hardware stores are gone. So your best bet would be that. Next up on the list is going to be oh, yeah. Home Depot's been brutal. Been brutal. And why? Because we made them so. Right? Yeah.
On that point, Ace, many of those are local owned?
Yeah. I'm going to go. That's a great question. I'm going through the list. Next up on the list, locally owned, right? Independent. Next up is a true value. A true value is an ESOP, employee stock option plan. That means they have multiple owners that live right here in the community. It's employee owned. Next up on the list is an ACE. An ACE is a franchise, and even though part of their money is going to be leaving Arizona to pay for that franchise, they're not going to be hiring a new graphic designer to develop a new logo or anything like that. They are still going to have an owner of that ACE that supports the Little League program or something else locally, right? So that's 1, 2, and 3. Then you have a significant drop way down here in your local impact is going to be a Lowe's and a Home Depot. And then even below that, in terms of economic impact, is to buy it on Amazon. So just so you know, those are how the options are. Nothing's going to be crystal clear, right? There's also always somebody that reminds me they don't grow coffee in Arizona. I understand that. But there's different degrees of localness in the way that you spend your money. There's options out there. And I would just encourage you to continue. One of the things I want to mention right here, we have a local directory at localfirstaz.com that has 6,000 local businesses on it. We're in development on a new app that is going to just forget about membership. We're just going to open it up, and we're going to try to do essentially what Yelp does without all the nasty reviews, but just the directory part of it for anything that's not a national brand. We're working on that right now. So it'll make it way easier to find something locally near you. Okay, next up. So now we're going to talk about a little bit more about banking. I already told you about the dire situation. It's so important that we think about what's happening when a lot of people deposit their money and they're not thinking about who's making money on your money. When you're not making money on your money, who's making money on your money, right? You put that money in a bank, they're investing it somewhere. So I have a strong sense that most of you would be horrified if you knew where Chase and Wells Fargo and Bank of America have invested your money. It's brutal. It's brutal. And so the best way we can limit their power is to pull our money out and be accountable for where that money is and put it in a local bank or a credit union, like you said, where in a credit union you actually have a voice, you have a vote. Community banks, you can go right down and talk to the CEO and find out where your money is. You can demand to know where your money is invested. So it's so important for us to reclaim this power that we have given away to companies to do really damning things with. I can guarantee you those oil companies are in partnership with those 3 big banks that I just named as they think about how they're going to fund Halliburton in the takeover of Venezuela right now, right? So what we need to do is I always like to say, the closer money is to home, the more compassionate that money will be. And all of us need to be accountable for that. And oh, by the way, on our website, if you go under About, there's going to be a banking tab, and you can find all the local banks and credit unions, and we'll even send you a kit on all the things, because I know that you groan when you have to move your accounts. It's not an easy thing, and I don't mean to make light. It is hard. But we can give you a checklist so you can remember all the things so you don't forget of what you need to do when you're moving your money. So here are some ideas. This might be small for some of you. Spend your money with independently owned businesses. Now, a lot of people mistakenly think I'm anti-big. What I'm calling into question here is I'm not trying to say that big is bad. What I'm trying to draw your attention to is the structure of the business. If it is family owned and operated, you're going to have more accountability. Once it is publicly traded and it's owned by shareholders around the globe, there's a lack of accountability and there's a veil, right? Who are those people who say that McDonald's workers don't deserve a living wage? Who are they? We don't know. The mysterious board, the shareholders, right? Could be a neighbor. We don't know. So I'm calling into question the actual structure of the stock market, which lends itself to a lack of accountability to people in communities, to people in general. And you can get very big. The problem we have is that every single business school in America has been teaching people for 20 years the only way to go big is to go public. It's a lie. Dot Foods in the Midwest is a $9 billion company, still family-owned and operated. Sam Adams Beer, family-owned and operated. There's tons of examples. You even got companies like U-Haul that are employee-owned. You can be employee-owned. There's so many different structures you can take by instead of just going public. So what we're trying to do is get people to recognize that publicly traded companies have less accountability and they're less compassionate at the human level. And so I could talk, as you can see, I'm still, after 23 years, incredibly passionate about this. I understand it's not 100% for anybody. What I'm asking for is intentionality and recognition that your money is a weapon. How you use it matters. How you use it matters. Next up is pay attention to the structure of ownership, understanding that businesses are not all the same. As I just described, move your money to a community bank or a credit union. This is a big step that you can take. Move your debt, whether it be a mortgage or a car loan, to a community bank or credit union. I am proud to say that we have shifted 14% market share out of those three big banks in the last 9 years we've been running the Move Your Money campaign. 14%. I've actually been uninvited from speaking at a chamber event because Wells Fargo sat on their board and they went, nope. We're not. Yes. Get the boot.
Hell yeah.
Right. Support independent restaurants that support local farms, right? So I'll give you an example of how this is the work of Local First Arizona. I read in the paper that the city of Phoenix was going to spend X millions of dollars feeding COVID-impacted families. I ran down there and I said, please let me run that program for you. I will run it through the economy. And they said, what do you mean? They were going to hire Aramark, very large company, to make local lunches to give to COVID-impacted families, right? What we did is we ran an RFP, a request for proposals for Phoenix-based farms, and a request for proposals for Phoenix-based restaurant. We selected 14 farms, 45 restaurants. The restaurants had to agree to use at least 3 ingredients in every meal prepared from the local farms. And then the city was going to spend all their money on distribution. I said, why the hell would you do that? I got St. Vincent de Paul, I got UMOM, I got everybody, where we don't need it. We just need to get the meals to them, and then they will distribute to their clients. We put together an entire system using the same amount of money. We saved 14 farms and 45 restaurants and 280 full-time jobs. We didn't feed any fewer people. We did not spend any more money. That is how the economy used to work. We forgot. Yes, Aramark was when we talked to them after the fact, they estimated it would have been 9 jobs. And one other thing we did is we went out and sourced 100% compostable to-go containers. They would have put them in styrofoam. Crappy meals, no nutrition, pump them out in styrofoam and be done with it. 6 jobs, right? Yeah, was it extra work? That is the work that we do, holding together all the distribution and putting those pieces together. That is how a food system should work. And so people were given wonderful, more nutritious meals, and all those jobs were saved. Grow food at home. Don't buy processed foods. Right now, what's happening at the federal level in this new upside-down pyramid that you just saw, these are big companies that are paying for that. The only thing I agree with is less processed food. But there's a lot in there. You know, we only have 5 major companies that control 90% of the meat market in America now. 5 companies. Oh, yeah, totally. Right? So we've got to understand the Farm Bill pays these very large companies that are growing soy and corn, and not fun corn on the cob that you can eat, but rather the kind that goes into corn syrups and processed food. That's what our government is paying for. Meanwhile, they're cut off the heads of our small and mid-sized farms. So we need to go out and find those small and mid-sized farms and support them. That is the work at Local First. Stop buying stuff on Amazon. That's an obvious one. I know it's hard. Some of you, it's going to be hard. Even just buying less is better. A lot of times we've even forgotten. If you want to, you see something on Amazon, you can go onto that company's website and buy it directly from the company and cut Amazon out of the deal. We forget about that, right? We're lulled into the complacency. All right, learn about where your money is actually invested. You know, at Local First Arizona, I had a hard decision to make. We did not have 401ks for our employees for a long time because I didn't want our money invested in the stock market. And then it got to be where our employees were feeling like we weren't being fair and we weren't being a good employer. So we did the research. It took months, and we found 6 companies that we thought were qualified for our dollars. 6. Looking at it from an environmental perspective, from a humane perspective, from a living wage perspective, all of it. We had a certain standards, you know. But I went to, I'm not kidding, 30 investment firms, and I said, I want no oil. I want no pharmacy. I want no plastics. I want no, you know, and they were like, can't help you. Right? So we had to be very, very, very intentional about how to invest those 401ks. Buy less, buy secondhand, and trade. Trading is a beautiful, beautiful thing. We heard a little bit about it with Toolbank as a good example. It's a twist on how to do it a little bit differently. Follow Local First Arizona. That is what we're here for. If we can be a resource, if you can't find something, reach out to us. Next up, I think this is my last slide. Here's just a few book recommendations if you want to snap a shot. These are colleagues of mine. Small Mart Revolution is a great one that goes into detail. No Logo by Naomi Klein is about staying away from brand names and buying secondhand clothes. Wealth supremacy. You know, we know we're facing white supremacy and always have been in this nation, but wealth supremacy is a twist on what's actually happening with favoriting and really writing policy for the wealthy. We're seeing it happen right before our eyes. Winners Take All is powerful, you know, and he makes great cases. I love the story of Kellogg's, right? What Kellogg's does is they put out a bunch of unhealthy foods for our children, and then they put together a campaign to fight childhood obesity, and they buy one neighborhood park a playground set, and they expect a ticker tape parade. Meanwhile, they didn't change any of the food that they're serving, right? And we do it. Oh, but look at what Kellogg's is doing, right? Let's hold these corporations accountable. There's a lot in Winners Take All about that. What went wrong with capitalism is a little bit more of a cerebral read, but I think it's so important. You know, I work with a lot of activists, and it's hard because I think activists are very anti-business. And so I think the question is, can we get to justice through business? And I believe that we can. Can we get to justice through capitalism? I believe that we can, but I'm always, always open for the discussion, right? We work so hard to help people build up companies and keep those dollars. You know, every single family that owns a small business has a chance to build that self-reliance, and we believe in that. And by the way, an LLC does provide a level, up until this administration, a level of safety as well. So it's something for you all to think about. Building a healthy economy from the ground up, that's actually a real step-by-step, thought-provoking book about how to build local economy where you are. So I'm going to pause and see if anybody has any questions for me. Show of hands, how many of you are thinking about the economy just a little bit differently? Just a little bit. Great. I hope you feel empowered to do something. Anybody have any questions? Yeah. Oh, sure.
So, yeah, so the question is about explaining the subsidies a little bit more, right?
Yeah. So most municipalities have what's called an economic development professional. I'm sorry, I said a joke the other day, and I think I'm pretty funny. So I call them the testosterones. They're like the PIPs. They're the economic development folks in Arizona, and they are there to beat their chests and talk about how many jobs they created, but they never, ever, ever take accountability for the jobs they eliminate. So economic development, what they do is they have a budget that's written into their community budget, and they get to spend it to create jobs. So I'll give you an example. Google Glass. How many of you remember about, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago when Google Glass came in, right? Yeah, we gave them an $800 million subsidy that came from the region for Google Glass to come to Arizona. They created 900 jobs. 18 months later, 900 jobs got fired, 900 people got fired, and they moved out, and they did not give us our money back. So economic development, they do what's called, they call it subsidy, and they put it under the guise of the company wouldn't have come here if we didn't give them money, right? So it's important to note that there are base industry sector jobs where I can kind of see they might make the case like an Intel job. Like TSMC, maybe you could make it big. The guy back here is like, no subsidies. I get that. That's where I'm coming from. But when you're paying for a chain retail job, absolutely not, right? So the other thing that we have to add up is they're subsidizing people to take these high-wage jobs, these chip and manufacturing jobs. The majority of those people are being imported from somewhere else. Why? Because they're gutting the Arizona education system, right? So you're telling me that you created these high-wage jobs, but if you're a kid that's born in Arizona, you're shit out of luck. We're not going to give you a path to get that job. So pretty much I'm just in the camp that we need to get business, government dollars out of business. They shouldn't be subsidizing anything. Yes. No. So Cabela's, there was no clause. Bass Pro got a $32 million subsidy here in Mesa for that one location, which is now owned by somebody else entirely. But when Scott Smith took over, you could just bring up Bass Pro and he'd just have steam coming out of his ears because there was no clawback. And they were extremely generous in their projections of how much tax revenue they were going to drive. Generally, they'll say, okay, if you give me $10 million up front, we're going to drive $20 million in taxes over the next 50 years or whatever. And then who's around in 50 years to see if it actually panned out, right? And the problem, in my mind, is that economic developers get paid by the jobs they create. So they get paid for this, and then they've moved on to somewhere else when the job is actually eliminated. And that slide that I show you, for every 2 jobs a chain creates, 3 local jobs are lost. Cabela's is a perfect example. They said they were going to create a couple hundred new jobs, but they cherry-picked a whole bunch of other jobs from other companies. So those weren't new jobs. So the economic developer got paid for the 200 jobs, but really it was only about 30 new jobs that they created. Do you follow what I'm saying? So there's a lot of sleight of hand stuff over here and then over here.
I do need
we got to wrap it up.
if it's okay.
Yeah.
Because these are great. And I've learned a whole bunch, but we also have just a little bit more of the program left. And I know that Kimber's going to
Sure.
probably stick around for
Yes,
questions for
I
a
am.
little bit. So I apologize, but if you do have more questions for Kimber, you now know where to find her. So
Yes.
if you could just, let's thank Kimber once
Oh, yeah.
again with the
Thank
round
you.
of applause.
I have a Spanish language directory. I have a black business directory. I have nonprofit stuff to help small businesses be more eco-friendly right over here. So thank you for having me very much.
Thank you so much. All right. Most of you here are familiar with the work that we do. We are your voice for the separation of religion and government. And a big, big part of that voice is our legal department. And when I say legal department, I mean very, very talented retired attorney who devotes tons and tons of time to us, and a couple of other people who can join us on that legal committee. So they are doing an awful lot with very, very little. Most of you probably already know Dianne Post, so I don't need to tell you that she's worked with battered women and abused children, that she has worked internationally on human rights and civil rights cases. But instead, I'll tell you about the first time I ever met her. Because I was running for Maricopa County School Superintendent. This was back in 2019, maybe the very beginning of 2020 before we went into lockdown. And actually, it was at Shadow Rock Church with the Desert Progressive Indivisible, and it was Tori Roberg. Many of you probably know Tori. She was the lobbyist with Secular AZ before I joined staff, and they were presenting. And I'd met Dianne before, but never really had gotten to know her. And she was wearing a boot. You know, she'd clearly broken something or sprained an ankle or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? And she was like, I broke it at a punk concert. And this was, 5 years ago? And so I'm looking at this woman and just kind of picturing the whole thing. And I think it was an all-girl punk band too, because of course it was. Yeah. So at a tattoo parlor. So if you don't know Dianne, you really should, and you're about to. So please welcome our legal director, Dianne Post.
In the hospital, they really had a funny time laugh. They go, that 78-year-old woman, or whatever the hell she was, I wasn't that old yet, but she broke her ankle in a tattoo parlor at a punk rock concert, and all the people had to come in and look at me and go, wow, that's pretty something. Okay, so, and Kimber, where are you? There you are. This morning I got an email that there is a black Amazon gone up. Yeah. I didn't think to bring that, but that you can buy most of this stuff on Amazon.
And Dianne, if you can speak more directly into the microphone too for the Zoom folks.
Okay, well, I'm going to need help here because I haven't got this right.
Hold on.
All right. I can't believe I'm not loud enough, but anyway. All right. Go to my first slide. There we go. All right, our number of complaints for this year. We only had 37, which was a big drop from last year, which is kind of interesting. So start at the bottom. No, this is not, never mind. These are the ones we had this year. 37 total complaints. In addition to, we had a threat that we had to deal with, a particular bill that we had to deal with, and a federal rule that we also dealt with that I'll talk about later. These are the kinds of complaints they were. 18 of them were school separation issues, so separation of church and state in the school. 2 of them were school board issues, and you know, we have Peoria people here. I know you're big on that. And then we had 2 school book banning problems, and 2 schools attacking teachers, mostly after the Charlie Kirk assassination. And then 8 of them were government issues with city, county, or 1 state government issue, and 2 churches campaigning. Now, what did I do wrong to make this go?
You're going to hit there.
That's what I did last time. Didn't work. Okay. All right. So if you begin at the bottom, I started at Secular Coalition in 2016 and started the legal program at that time. And that year we had 12 complaints, 18, 13. So you see, then we jumped up to the 20s and 30s there for 4 years. And then the last 2 years we had a huge big jump. And I think part of that was the election year, We had big jump that year, but I don't know about 2023 what that was for. But then this year we dropped back down into the 30s again. I expect we'll have a big jump up again next year because of the election issues with so many churches campaigning. And we complain and we complain, but there it still goes on. And as many of you know, there is going to be soon a legal argument about the Johnson Amendment. That is what our state bar convention is going to be on this year in June, is the Johnson Amendment. The Alliance Defending Freedom is running the argument to say we should get rid of the Johnson Amendment, and we're on the side saying we should keep the Johnson Amendment, and that's what's going to be our workshop this year at the state bar. We had some successes and some losses this year. One of our biggest successes was the Vail School District. You might have heard about it in the news. I think we even made national news on this, which was in Vail, which is a fairly wealthy community outside of Tucson, right, Mike? I mean, they're fairly wealthy. Yeah. And they were going to put a LDS seminary on the grounds of the school. On the grounds of the school. So we heard the rumor about it and got involved. And since this was a pretty high-level community with rich people in it, they knew what to do. They knew how to organize. They knew how to use social media. They knew how to write the letters to the editor. They knew how to do those things. And they organized, I think we ended up with about 63 people in the group that was opposing them locally. And that's what you really need. You need to have the people on the ground opposing them locally. Me to just go in there and say, hey, I don't like this. Well, bye. We don't care who you are. But having the local people help. So they didn't do it. They didn't do it at all. So that was a big success. The Phoenix Fire Department, for not the first time, put out some religious advertising, actually showing somebody being baptized in water, like backwards in the water, on some of their advertising seeking employees. So we got that stopped. Phoenix City employee, to her unfortunate activity, she happened to send an email to me. And that was probably not a good idea. I'm on the library board, and so she happens to be the new person who was hired and was in charge of sending out the email to the library board people. And I went, what? So she was putting a Bible verse under her name, on her thing. And I contacted her because, of course, I knew her. And I said, yeah, you can't really do this. She said, oh, but blah, 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 blah. And I said, no, you can't really do this. So she didn't quite believe me. But I think she did speak to someone because I never saw it again. Then we had two cases where young girls were really targeted. In the first case about saying the pledge, the girl did not stand up and did not say it. And she wasn't really a teacher. I don't know, Jeannie, maybe you know. She was one of these people that goes around the district and does a certain particular job in each school.
It could be called a teacher on assignment, maybe an instructional coach.
Something like that. She actually went over to her and said, you have to stand up, and if you don't, there will be negative consequences for you, blah, blah. And she said, well, no, I don't. Well, there were negative consequences, but it wasn't for the girl. It was for the teacher. And so we got on that, and it really was fairly resolved pretty quickly in that one. The second one, it's unbelievable. This was in the Kyrene School District in Tempe. And several different parents had called because their girls were told to come in early to a volleyball practice, 30 minutes early, at which time they were given a sermon from the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, some guy who used to play football for somebody, I don't know if it was the ASU or Cardinals or somebody. And then with him, this stunned me, with him was a guy that has a commercial T-shirt company that makes religious T-shirts. Can we put two wrongs together and make a right? No. So the T-shirt guy gave them all free T-shirts that had a big cross and a big, Jesus is your fuel on the field or something stupid like that. And the coach told them they had to wear these shirts in their practice. So several of the girls went home and said, Ma. And they said, no. So that was resolved very quickly. The girls never wore the shirts. But I heard from the parents that this teacher has been a problem for some time. This coach has been a problem for some time. Now, I'm sure she was talked to, but whether or not she's changed her behaviors, I can't swear to that. We also had some losses, as one does. Canyon Elementary is in Black Canyon City on the way to Flagstaff. We had trouble with them a year or so ago, and we resolved it, sort of. The president of the school board is also married to the pastor of the church there. And she believes that her school belongs to her husband's church. And they treat it like it's the church. So we had a to-do back and forth with them about charging them the right amount and using the right times, blah, blah, blah. So this was a couple years ago. Well, then the local people are saying, well, they're doing it again. But there wasn't really any hard evidence. So for those of you lawyers who are ethical and actually believe you have to have evidence before you can do something, just make shit up, you know. There really wasn't anything I could do except harass them, but there wasn't any hard evidence because they're smarter now on how to hide what they're actually doing. Kirkland is another little town that's out in Yavapai County, very conservative, and I've had several interactions with Kirkland over the several years. This particular one was a teacher who unfortunately did say something. I mean, I don't consider it obnoxious about Charlie Kirk, and neither would any of you, but you know, that whole thing after he was shot. And one of the kids reported her, and she was in fact fired, and she was not willing to fight it. She had just enough with the school. You know, she'd had it with the school. It's been going on a while. So that didn't result in anything positive. And then, surprising to me, was a Montessori school in Tucson. I didn't expect this out of a Montessori school. They were holding their Christmas concert in a church, which they had done before, and the local people didn't particularly like it. So I did talk to the principal, and she said, well, you find me another place in Tucson to hold it. Well, I mean, I don't live in Tucson, but I would think, you know, Tucson's not like, you know, a small, tiny little city. So I would think you could find another place. But anyway, it was fairly close to Christmas, and so that didn't happen. But I told her you have to cover up the religious iconography, which she did not do. So I talked to her afterwards, and she just said, you know, basically, you know what she said. But also, she's retiring. So today, this is her last year. Yeah. So I'm sure she does not care in the least. So the people down there said, okay, we'll watch for next year and see what happens. So on lawyer trainings, as I mentioned, I can't believe that the state bar is actually letting me do this every year, but they're letting me have a seminar every year. I think maybe they don't want to fight with me. I don't know. And so our last one last year was on book banning. It was a great seminar, but unfortunately only 18 people attended. And that was because they do this every stinking time. Well, had two reasons, really. The attendance for everybody was much lower, about half what it had been the year before. And they put me opposite the ACLU First Amendment workshop. I mean, I was really ticked, and I said, why did you do this? You know, well, this is where we could fit you, you know. I would have gone to the ACLU First Amendment workshop, except I couldn't because I had to be in this one, right? So we ended up with only 18. So the one this year I already mentioned, which is going to be on the Johnson Amendment. And it was very funny because they have these Zoom meetings, you know, with all the people who presented before. And Aide, Alliance Defending Freedom, came up before I did. And she said, well, we want to put on this Johnson Amendment. And we have, you know, the head lawyer that's bringing this case, blah, 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 blah. But we need somebody on the other side. And the facilitator for the Zoom meeting said, I think we have someone on the Zoom meeting who's beyond the other side. Dianne, you know, there we go. So that's going to be our workshop for this year. Some of the other actions that we did this year, when I say we, I kindly mean me. Random House had complained, remember, about that particular content we had on the thing, and we got that off. We assisted legislators with research for fighting some bills, and we do that every year, which is do the legal background on what is the problem with this, and then give them talking points that they can use so our friendly legislators can use this during the committee meetings and whatnot on the floor to argue against it. We assisted a group that's fighting a mega try to takeover in Lake Havasu City. Now, you may or may not know, Lake Havasu City is dead in the middle of a very, very red area. But they are fighting a mega takeover, and so we were basically consulting them. I think they talked to you too, Jeannie, and they talked to me for quite a while. Get some ideas on what to do and how to do it. The federal government, you know, that federal government, put out a new rule that they were going to prioritize grants, give grants to schools who would teach fake history. I mean, basically it was fake history. Who will teach white supremacy? And it's almost what they said in the rule. So me and a million other people wrote objections to that. And then we also worked with Marana, and this was a case which is really a kind of a heartbreaker, but what are you going to do? After the Vail fight, we found out during that fight, because the people in Vail said, well, they have this in Marana. So I said, actually, I think I had somebody working with me at that time, the guy. And I said, well, go find out what the heck's going on in Marana. And he did. And they did, in fact, they do, in fact, have an LDS seminary on the grounds of the school in Marana. It's not exactly the same, because in Vail, it was going to be right on the grounds where the school buildings were. In Marana, here's the school buildings, here's a dirt road, here's plain dirt ground. It belongs to the school district. They park their cars there, and this is where the LDS seminary is. It has a fence around it, and it does not have a sign on it. So it is not very visible or advertised. And it's been there 5 years. It's already there. They already built it. They already brought the electricity to it, the sewer to it, everything else. Well, I think they got, what do they call it? Not sewer. Septic. So it's already there. So what do you do? So the end of the long battle was the contract that the school district has was for 10 years or 19 years. And they're on 5 years. So they came to an agreement, which we'll see if they abide by, but to end the contract at 10 years rather than 19. So that was the best we could come up with in the situation that already existed. But it certainly brought to mind that this exists in this community. Somehow it snuck by all you people, right? So this year, whoops. For infrastructure, I now have another legal intern, and I did have a legal intern yet last year. What was his name? Levi, yes. He's gone on to work in California, graduated, went to California. And this year we have Chloe Love. She just started in January 5th. And is this hybrid? Yeah. She might be watching it right now. Hi. Hi, she's in Wyoming, and we'll be back next week. So, but she's already started work. In our legal committee, we were short of volunteers there for quite a while. So we didn't have too many meetings in 2025. We finally did have one on December 6th when Mike joined us, and so we're very happy about that, and Chloe and some others joined us. So we're going to have another one in February and hope we can get the legal committee up. And, as you've heard, I started on this board in 2016, and I said, okay, I'll stay for 5 years. Well, it's 10 years now. So I have doubled my time that I said I would be here. So my time on the board is up August 2026, and I am leaving the board, and I am leaving the legal directorship. I will continue to volunteer for the legal committee, and I will be on whosever legal committee it is, but we need to hire a lawyer. So we've been working for the last year or two, actually, to get our legal fund big enough that we can hire a paid lawyer to actually do the work, because we need somebody full-time, we need somebody dedicated to this. So please remember that when you think about who are you going to donate your money to this year. So, questions? Jeannie, anybody got any questions?
I think we'll have time for like maybe one. That's it. Sorry. Here, hold on. Phil Donahue, okay.
I am relatively new to Arizona. And although I served for 20 years on a school board in Illinois, I was shocked to learn that there's a debate going on right now about whether turning point clubs can be in our schools. And can you tell me the legal basis for the ruling that says that school boards in Arizona have to let these clubs form even though they're clearly religious in nature?
It's called the Equal Access Act, and that is a federal law that says that if a school lets in any clubs, the bridge club, the chess club, the Spanish club, the poetry club, any club, they have to let in every club, including the gay and lesbian club and the Presbyterian club. They have to let them all in regardless of the type of issue that they have. So it sort of backfired on them in a way, because they were doing that to get their religious clubs in. Well, then the gay and lesbian said, okay, we'll get our clubs in too. So that kind of ticked them off, that then you could get the gay and lesbian clubs in. And there are quite specific rules on them. And this is, I argue with schools constantly. It has to be initiated by the students, not a teacher, not a parent, not an outsider or a pastor or any of that crap. Initiated by the students, run by the students. You cannot have outside speakers come in blabbing on Christianity or any other anity, insanity, anity, whatever. So there are specific rules about how you can do it, but it is a federal law called the Equal Access Act, and they can do it, but there are restrictions, and they have to abide by those. Maybe. That could be. Oh, I don't know. Do you remember, Mike? I don't remember when it was passed. I don't remember. I have no idea.
Now, if a pastor is invited in to speak to the group, are they allowed to do that?
There's very limited about who you can invite. The students would have to invite them. It would have to be not just a sermon. You know, there are different rules about it. So you can argue about a lot of things. It also has to be during non-instructional time. Yeah, so, you know, anybody can argue anything about either side of a rule or many different sides of a rule. But it can't be during instructional time, and there's other kinds of rules. Like those at the see you at the poll events. They do that at schools too. But has to be at very strict rules.
Okay, so the question is they won't let tomorrow we vote in the schools. So I mean, and I'm going to assume that that's something that folks should take up as long as the student is going through the proper if they're going through the proper channels and the district is still saying
no,
that you
then
can't
have them contact
then you've
me.
got a problem.
Absolutely.
I've spoken to many teachers who, since all of these crazy attacks, mostly on our trans students, there are a lot of teachers who have come to us too to say, hey, I had a kid come and say they want to do a 1 in 10 club, and the principal said, now might not be the right time. No, that is not the way it is.
No.
So those students should be empowered. There is a group here, founded here in Arizona, called Unity Rising, a young man named Jacob George. He wanted to have a polar opposite of Turning Point USA clubs. So I highly recommend, too, if you haven't looked into Unity Rising, take a look at them. Because we do. I mean, we're about to introduce Melissa Ewing here, but on that board, 2 of those board members have insinuated that they will help students start a Turning Point USA club. So again, it goes back to what Lisbeth said about all of us showing up where we are, meeting the moment. And if you live in a district where you think that those kind of shenanigans are going on, commit to going to that board meeting. Look, especially with somebody experienced like you. We need people who are familiar with the agenda and the protocols that go into it. So I don't want to cut anybody off. Please, let's give Dianne another round of applause. Where are my notes? Oh, there it is. It's over there. Okay. No, it's under your chair. I can get it. So this is my favorite part of the summit. And this is our opportunity to recognize those individuals who are doing the work and standing up to Christian nationalism in their own backyards. Sorry. So first, I'm going to go ahead and talk about a group that was not able to be here today. It's that third little tile right there, Scottsdale Women Rising. And Scottsdale Women Rising was founded by 2 really hard, well, more than just 2, but they tend to be the face of it. Shay Najafi in Scottsdale and Jennifer McDowell in Tucson. And they got really frustrated a few years back when their school board lost a couple of seats to a couple of MAGA candidates. So they decided to take action, and I'll just read a blurb about them. As an exhausted but successful group of women finally raised their heads after a long-fought campaign victory. So they did have a victory just in 2024, where they blocked, after losing 2 seats 2 years before that, they blocked 3 MAGA candidates And now that board has a sane pro-public education majority. So they searched around for a group that would replace them in the next election cycle and realized that they have to start training a new group right now. So they want to teach them how to host events, to be fully engaged. Hence, Scottsdale Women Rising was born. Meetings and events are centered around schedules that work better for a demographic of women that are working and raising families. Evening events are purposefully filled with fun and the promise of new friendships, making the expensive hiring of a babysitter worth it, both in terms of their volunteerism but also personally fulfilling. When they're on it, or when they're in it together, we have a team. We do more. We want more. We hold each other up while we work for our democracy. Scottsdale Women Rising was formed to teach a new group of volunteers about the various offices, how campaigns are run, and how to organize, all while providing friendship and support in an area where registered Democrats make up less than 30% of the population. Their motto is shamelessly hopeful progressives. Their goal is to create community, foster friendships, and most importantly, and we are a nonpartisan group, by the way, but to get Democrats elected. So with that, if you could just give them a round of applause. I will be passing out their award a little bit later. Now, you all have either heard me talk a lot about Peoria Unified School District or you've seen me write about it. We have it's no longer a Substack publication, it's a beehive. I sat on my school board as well for 8 years, and I'm very passionate about it. And in 2022, we saw the election of an extremist, I would say, but we also saw the election of Melissa Ewing. Melissa Ewing, hold on. There we go. She, I can tell you about her qualifications here and what's on the website and everything, but I want to tell you more about just what she does. She is showing up to meetings. I have never seen anybody lean in so hard to school boardsmanship and good school boardsmanship. Melissa jumped right in, attended every single training that was offered to her, even going as far as to becoming the county co-chair, right? When your district was still in the Arizona School Board Association, which, by the way, they've pulled out. She is very much in the minority, and she is now being subjected, since the MAGA takeover in 2024, to meetings. I don't think you all have had a meeting less than 6.5 hours. Yet, Thursday, they had a meeting that went from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. And it has become a war of attrition in that district. They are purposefully exhausting the constituents of that district, the members of the cabinet, and the employees and students of that district. But every single meeting, Melissa Ewing shows up, and she represents the most vulnerable students in that district because the majority of her board refuses to. So we are giving our Secular Star Award this year, one of them, to Peoria Unified School District Governing Board member Melissa Ewing. So if there's anything you want to say. If you'd like to say a few words, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeannie. I don't know, can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you, Jeannie. She's, every time after the meetings, when it's challenging and I just need to vent a little bit, I give her a call and she helps me through it. So I really appreciate that. I just want to say, being here today, thank you so much for all that you all do in your communities, because really, especially with schools, it takes the entire community. One of the things that's happening in Peoria is that our community, I'm trying, and other people are trying to empower our community members to stand up and ask for what their students deserve in education, and to let the community members know that they have the power
to make sure that our kids are highly educated, that our families have what they need, and our students have what they need to succeed. And I really appreciate everything you all are doing in your communities to lift up those families and make sure about that. And I appreciate this. I feel very humble about this. It's the other thing I must say is that meeting that is, it was 13 and a half hours. We were talking about, because we didn't pass a bond and an override, that we're looking at a $21 million cut. And so that whole conversation, half the meeting was about closing schools, having to cut staff, and those are all of our community members. So it was a really, really hard meeting, and we have, in our district, we have really hard choices coming forward. So this is really appreciative. So anyway, I appreciate this. Thank you.
You're gonna have to meet. You're going to have to meet Audrey back there, because she now has a group of activists in the Northwest Valley. So you two are going to need to connect. So
Yes.
Thank you so much. Let's give Melissa another round of applause, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, here, do you want the box? Just in case. Yeah, just in case. Okay. This next award winner, Tiana Torian Wood. I got it right? Torian? There she is, okay. So again, after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, suddenly teachers were reaching out to us, and, the algorithms on TikTok understood exactly, where my brain lives. And suddenly I see this video of the Fountain Hills Town Council meeting, where I would say they spent a good 20, 30 minutes eulogizing a man who entirely divided people. And not only that, during this meeting where they do these invocations, right? And this woman is like holy rolling while she's proselytizing and eulogizing this man. And the person says, you can stand if you want, if you're able, but you don't have to. And she had a son who started off standing, and because he's a kid, was like, I'm not going to stand anymore. And there was a couple in the audience that were actually nudging and touching this child while his dad is standing right next to him and trying to get him to stand up. And she put that video on TikTok, and suddenly it went viral. And people, even in the comment section, were saying things like, is this a church sermon? What's going on? Like, they couldn't recognize that the meeting was happening in a government building, that it was a government meeting, because there was so much prayer in it that now poor Tiana has gone viral. So for her continued advocacy, because of her, so many things right now are happening in Fountain Hills. And she has, I would say, single-handedly helped to whip the folks of Fountain Hills into a kind of anti-Christian nationalist frenzy. So please help me welcome Tiana Torian Wood. I can't see anything without my glasses. Oh, that's okay. So this one's yours right here. Thank you. Would you like to say anything? There you go.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's very humbling to be here in this room with so many people who are amazing and dedicated and passionate, and I'm honored to be here. We were just there also for context to receive an award for my son for school, which made it much more unexpected that we were subjected to prayers and also being told that the left killed Charlie Kirk and stuff that I then had to explain to my 9 and 12-year-old when we left. And let's just say it really, really pissed me off a lot. Thank you. I just hope people know to pay attention to local politics. That's my main goal with continuing the push on social media that I've continued. I want people to know that it can be easy to be distracted by all the terrible things going on a federal, national level, but we can make a big impact if we just focus our attention locally on what's happening. And it's easy for these people to operate in the shadows if all of us are looking the other way. So I hope that's what my content gets across, just gets people more involved, and so that we all are aware of what's going on in our communities. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you, Jeannie.
Yeah, Oliver? Sorry. Oh, yeah, give your handle.
Sorry, Tiana T Design is my handle. You can also find me on Facebook. I share everything on Facebook if you're not on TikTok. Tiana Torian Wood, same spelling and everything on Facebook. And yeah, Tiana T Design on TikTok is me. All right, thank you guys. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. In case you need it, I don't know if you're going to move or something. It would probably be good for a gift box if you actually wrap presents. I've given up on wrapping presents. I just don't do it anymore. So, all right, we've reached the end of our program. And when we were working on this schedule, our development director, Eddie Chavez Calderon, was going to be doing this part of the ask. But after hearing about what has been going on in Mesa today, and even though he's here fully legally, he has full paperwork, he left early because he was afraid of what could happen to him. The Supreme Court has said that they can ask questions if you look like a worker. Yeah, so whenever somebody is fearful because ICE could be in the vicinity, and so we were like, you got to get out of here. You got to get out of here. He even took the barbecue that he was going to give me and Ian, so but he had to get out of here. So if you were coming here today, like hoping to debate about religion, that's just not what secular AZ does, and it never really has been. There's great groups out there. I know that there's a philosophy group that meets here, that Phoenix area or Phoenix Atheist Meetup group. They might do stuff like that, but we are your voice for the separation of religion and government. And this year's summit may even seem a little bit strange, right? Because here we are, not really even talking about Christian nationalism in an explicit way, but everything that we've talked about today is about Christian nationalism and these Christo-fascists taking over our country. And it's our way to fight that kind of fascist regime from taking over and putting our neighborhoods in fear. So we are, like I said, your voice at the Capitol, all the way down to school boards. And now it's not just the establishment clause that we focus on, right? Because these Christian nationalists are coming after how we express ourselves, how we assemble, the news that the press puts out. So we are really focused on the entire First Amendment. And if this is the kind of work that's important to you at that granular level, at the local level, please, we're asking you to consider becoming a sustaining member, a monthly member, because we are going to very deeply miss Dianne Post. She'll still be there on that committee, but the amount of work that she does, I say it all the time, it's my joke. She's like a vampire. I don't know if she sleeps, really, honestly. She is the hardest working woman in Arizona. So if the work that we do is important to you and the organizations out there that we partner with, if that matters to you, I'm asking you today to consider a monthly donation to our organization. And again, I just want to end by saying thank you so much to the Humanist Society of Greater Phoenix. We appreciate you so much for having this space available almost all the time. They also have a little pantry. They also have a free little library out there. So if you're in this community too and you want to get involved, this is the place to do it. And again, also to all the folks at Secular AZ, including the board, and a big shout out to Kat Patterson and James back there for helping with the technology today. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next year. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you. How was it?